Hello, happy hunters, and welcome to a podcast type episode. Not entirely, but this might be the length of one because we've got a lot of yapping to do. We've got a lot of yapping to do. We got a lot of things to talk about. A whole bunch of Monster Hunter Wilds information was released today throughout sources of interviews, as well as some people who got to go backstage at Summer Games Fest to see a pre-made demo of the game and be able to tell us their thoughts on it. I'm actually accompanied today by Jaeger. You may find him on YouTube and Twitter at Jaeger. I'll make sure to put your links in the description. But what type of content do you make, Jaeger?
Well, I mostly make Monster Hunter content, and I'm a Monster Hunter VTuber, I guess.
Holy shit, that's based.
No, you're based.
Stop. Anyways, dick measuring contest out of the way. I'm sorry, I can't even hold it back anymore. I've been avoiding the hell out of Twitter ever since this information dropped today, and I'm so excited.
I have been a thirsty boy. I have been soaking it all in. I have been finding everything. Ever since, we messaged planning this out, I've been looking at about as many articles as I could find, asking several people on Twitter who's posting stuff like, hey, what article's that? And where's this article from?
But, please bring me in. I want to know. I'm so excited.
Shall we just start from the top then? From the first article? Alright. You want me to send you the article so you can just follow along?
Absolutely.
Here you go. We'll start with the first one from RPG Site.
Okay.
So, the first bit is just them talking about their own experience with Monster Hunter. Let's see what else here.
I honestly don't want anybody to review Monster Hunter that has not played a single Monster Hunter game.
Yeah, we have. You can tell there are some of these articles that have not, but they do have some good information that just some other articles haven't seen. So, you gotta
I guess
keep that.
diversity of opinions is a good thing, but at the same time, it's like I just really feel like you wouldn't be able to tell information that really matters to me personally as a mainline hunter unless you know the game, you know?
Yeah, that's why I collected as much information as I possibly could. So I think we'll start on the 5th paragraph of this. If you can find that. It starts with in many ways. So first we start off with news that there are predetermined locations for camps. But you can place a camp down.
So it's a combination of World and Wild Hearts?
Essentially, yes. And it seems from other articles that it's going to cost guild points or some kind of point system, and they said they're working on figuring out that cost. But yes, you can place down camps in certain areas, and there's some areas are safer than other areas, as camps can be destroyed as well and may need to be rebuilt.
Is this was Dragon's Dogma 2 just a play test for Wilds?
It's just a tech demo for Wilds, yeah.
Like,
I guess
that's literally Dragon's Dogma 2.
I'm gonna skip ahead to another article. I'm not just to say that it is confirmed. It's on the RE engine.
That's such good news because this game looks fantastic.
It looks beautiful. One of the things I think I'm happy the most about the graphics is the character designs. They are stunning.
The hair on these people. Oh, and their skin tones, and there's like you can even tell that the light will hit their skin differently, depending on the lighting. And oh my god, it's wonderful. It scatters so well. But anyways, continue.
After that, we learned that you can cook a meal wherever, but
wherever?
But you have to supply your own ingredients. So it's not like you don't unlock ingredients, but rather you have to go buy or gather or hunt for those ingredients.
Interesting.
And so you do this at a portable camp that you can place down.
So you said earlier that possibly could be based off of a point system that we're going to have. Every Monster Hunter has a point system aside the Zenny system.
That's actually a different kind of camp. So there are like So you know how World has several camps around the map,
Of
and
course.
so does Rise. So
Yeah.
that's what you would do with a you could call those predetermined camps, I guess. We'll
Right.
call it that way. This one is one that you'll always have with you, a portable tent that you can set up.
So this one doesn't cost points to take out?
I'm
and set up?
assuming so. I haven't seen anyone say that. It's more of like a camp with your Seikret, because you can also like change your gear and restock in it as well.
Oh my god. So that is a bedroll on the back of the Seikret.
Yes, it is.
And people were so right about that. That's
Exactly.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. And so we're going to be able to pull out a camp anywhere. Varying degrees of danger, but we're going to be able to camp. How do you feel about that, Jaeger?
I've been I've been highly against the infinite restock and being able to restock anywhere, and being able to do that on the go is a little powerful, I think. But I feel like they're changing enough where it might not be as powerful as we think. I think it's especially because I don't think you're going to be able to do it in an unsafe area. So I'm very curious to find out. Because like I said,
have a question.
No, go ahead.
And then I would actually really like for you to continue your point that you're making. But did anything anywhere possibly talk about fast travel?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay. Because it's almost like, well, I mean, why would you ever, depending on, say there is no fast travel, then that means all of these predetermined camps are basically just your spawn point. And then
essentially, but there
the
is
temporary
fast
camp.
travel.
So there is fast travel.
The temporary camp, I assume, is something that once you're done with, you have to pick it up and keep with you with the Seikret, I believe. That's what I'm interpreting. I honestly have no idea, though.
And I mean, we just got baseline level information. With
Yeah,
this stuff,
this is all secondhand information because neither of us have gotten to see the. It was a 30-minute gameplay.
God, I am so jealous. I'm literally green.
Yeah.
I can literally take my name to the green January because fucking hell, I wish I was there. It should have been me.
Not him.
Literally. Okay, so this is all cool. This is awesome. Temporary camp that you can place anywhere to varying degrees of danger.
I assume
That's
it's not going to
cool.
be stuck in one spot again because they can be destroyed if they're in an unsafe location. But I do believe
I hope
an
that's
article.
very likely.
Yeah, and I believe there's an article that said somewhere that there are unsafe locations. There are rather safe locations, like the camps we have in World. But
Right.
to have a better advantage, or maybe, something like that, you would have to put your tent in an unsafe location. So kind of like Wild Hearts.
So is it basically like an RNG role? Because with DD2, you were like, it was basically an RNG role of, oh, are we going to get attacked? Maybe.
I don't
You
think
know?
so. I think it's just if it's within an area that a monster happens to be able to reach.
Yeah, because we wouldn't be going to sleep or anything, and that would be when you got attacked in DD2. We would just be... There is no, like, time passing thing that happens at a camp where it's literally all in real time, right?
There is a day-night time system.
That we can utilize?
I believe so. We'll have to see whenever I get to that part in my notes.
Okay, sorry. I'm taking you all over the place.
No,
I
you're
have so
fine.
but I do... Okay.
Look, I can't remember all of my notes. It's like 8 pages of notes. But I'll clarify anything whenever we get there.
Okay. Well then, let's just continue down the path that's been set before us
next
by you.
bit. Yeah. So next bit. Leaving the village and going to the hunt is seamless.
Seamless.
The village is in the plains. It is like you just walk out.
I'm kind of, like, low-key not surprised about that, ever since that part of the clip of trailer 2 where they were like, the Deshagma, they're in the village! It's like, That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Although I don't know if we're going to be fighting in that village, like we discover the village and then fight in it, or if we fight in it and then because we make it safe, it becomes a village we can access.
Oh, you think we gotta clear it out first, like an extermination run or something?
Maybe. I'm unsure. It would be very interesting because Wild Hearts. Did you play Wild Hearts at all?
I should have.
Okay. I'm gonna spoil a little Wild Hearts.
I know a lot of it. It's okay. Go ahead.
You do literally fight a monster in the village. It destroys almost the entire village, and you have to rebuild the village. The fight takes place actually in the village area.
But that was only one fight, right?
Correct. Yes, but it was a very, very flashy fight. You were fighting this like phoenix that controls the power of the sun. And then you had to make like a giant laser. The Katakuri thing is very like sciencey. But yeah, you have a giant like laser that like shot at it. It was whack, but it was really fun.
Dude, I do need to try out Wild Hearts. Ever since I heard that the hammer gets longer the more you swing it, yes. I've been interested.
Wild Hearts is honestly just a really cool game. But its performance wasn't the greatest, and my PC could barely handle it. I could only play it a couple hours at a time. Although my PC isn't, the highest quality. It's good enough, is what it is.
It's good enough. Okay, so, whether or not monsters attacking the village is going to be scripted, like in Wild Hearts, or random, like in DD2, or both, I think we will only have to wait to see.
Yeah,
but there's very interested.
Yeah,
I am very interested in that.
Yeah, there's not enough information, but it is something very interesting. Next bit. So they were kind of going through a little bit of what was happening in the trailer, so that's what I'm kind of going through, or not the trailer, because they saw 30 minutes of gameplay without like no like pre-rendered footage or anything like that.
So is that like one full hunt or something?
Yes, they do a full hunt, and I'll get into that more. There were two different versions that people got to see.
Of course there was. They're across the Spider-Versing the shit out of us.
Although I don't believe they were two different, two of the same hunts, but just like done like played just differently, I guess.
You tell me two of your hunts have ever been the same.
They've been somewhat similar. If you repeat the same hunt, like the same optional quest, they can be similar. The monsters starting in the same area, same other creatures being there, but it doesn't always go exactly the same. But I think for this 30-minute trailer, they were pretty well scripted to an extent.
God, and I'm looking at this picture of the railgun wyvern. Oh my god, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, as you were saying...
So as they're leaving the village, or as they're just roaming around the village setting up for the quest, there are less villagers than there should be because a storm is slowly approaching, and so many of them are taking cover. And so you will see less villagers as a storm is, like, approaching. The storm is not currently happening, but it is approaching. And they want you to kind of, like, prepare for it.
Wait, so the weather and the complete and utter day and night cycle keeps going even when you're chilling at the village?
Yes, because the village is part of the locale.
So the locale keeps going?
I believe so, yes.
Even when you're not out doing stuff in it?
Yeah, so quests actually function differently too, and I'll get there in a minute.
Oh god, I'm sorry. I know I'm taking you all over the place, but oh.
No, you're fine. Look, you don't have to apologize. So, let me look through the article again. Let's see. Okay. So, yeah. So they want you to, like, adapt to the storm, and prepare for it. The article says, quote, "There's a sort of chaotic beauty to the idea of the world itself actively changing around you, and in turn you have to be ready and adapt to prepare for it." So,
mean!
So one thing is, Wilds is not open world, but there are several maps, and each map is listed, or was said by the person who was there, that they are at least twice as big as the maps in world.
Which makes sense when you think about how in every single one of the trailers they've released, they've shown off a new area of the Windward Plains.
Yes, and they still did not get to see anything but the Windward Plains in this video. So, I would like to see some other locales, but I'm very much coming to love the Windward Plains.
I'm not gonna lie, deserts are the weakest of the maps for me, always. But this shit is sick, man.
The Wildspar Waste has a little spot in my heart ever since Wilds came out. Or, was announced in the first trailer. So, and then, quote, with stuff like weather effects having a particularly strong impact on the environment. So, like, weather is supposed to be incredibly significant, and I'm assuming that's with, like, the storm bit. And I think later there's even bits, kind of like upsurges, but after the storm, like, certain plant life is more abundant.
That makes so much sense, because, I mean, like, even, like, leaves on trees IRL will, like, change orientation when there's a rainstorm heading towards them.
Yes. And
that's
also,
so cool.
We saw in the last trailer, or the last two trailers, really, that during the transition, there was, like, honey on the trees that disappeared whenever it became, like, dirtier and stuff like that. And so, not just the life, the creatures or the monsters, but the endemic life and the plants and the materials as well will change as the weather changes. And I believe it may also change with the day-night cycle. I'm unsure about that last bit, but potentially. And then the next bit is focus mode. So, I think we've gotten a little more understanding of what focus mode is, and it's, I don't know how to explain it, because focus mode, you go into a stance, and it allows you to, I believe you're not able to move other than some certain abilities, and
it looks like you can walk, because the Greatsword user walks in our quote-unquote first. I will always refer to the trailers by how Monster Hunter themselves titled it. So when I say first trailer, I mean the trailer that is titled first trailer.
Yes, that makes sense. I call the initial announcement one Trailer 0.
That works. I'm totally down with that.
So,
but in trailer 1, we see the Greatsword user, after he enters focus mode, he takes like 2 steps forward.
Okay.
They're slow. They're very slow.
So,
but he does take steps.
So when you hold down the button, it puts a cursor on your screen, which allows you to move it around your screen to better aim your attack. And what they keep repeating over all of these interviews and articles is that what focus mode actually is meant to be a tool for those with lesser experience to be able to get into the action, because you're able to aim your attacks.
Wait, so it actually is easy mode like people were complaining about?
That's what it seems like. And I have more information again. I don't remember, but yeah.
Package focus mode for now. I have many questions about that. But if we don't have extensive details to cover it here, I'm fine with us returning to it.
Yeah. Also, the weakening on the monsters, whenever you hit them enough, they have those wounds that open, kind of like the Clutch Claw weakening. They did note that it has the same, like, little, what they called, the same visual flourish on the damage numbers, where they have those little arrow bits around, like the 4 little, like, triangles, just to show that it's weakened.
So, I don't know, I have such a strange, like, mix of feelings on that, because I am so worried that is because one of the biggest problems that was openly complained about with tenderizing was not always necessarily just like, oh, Clagger interrupts the hunt, Clutch Claw is clunky, you know? It wasn't always just that. It was also that I hate knowing that I'm not doing the maximum amount of damage that I am per swing because that part of the monster isn't tenderized. And
that's very interesting.
I don't want that to, like, be a complaint again, because I feel like that's going to reinforce those people's negative opinions of not liking that aspect because it makes them think they're not performing to the top of their game.
I don't think that's going to be an issue because the wounds appear when you repeatedly attack the same part, and so it's more of just, I'm unable to hit the same part kind of thing, which I feel like it helps encourage and helps people who are trying to, like, let's say tail cut, right? As you keep hurting it, a wound opens, making it even easier to potentially cut it. Something like that. It's just an example.
I know, I said command. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
So it's not like something you can manually do. It's just something that happens while you're hunting the monster. And I guess it's like rewarding you for already doing good. And so you just continue
longsword
to do
user staying on the tail? Here you go, cut the tail off easier.
Yeah.
I know I said compartmentalize focus mode and throw it away for later, but like, I've got so many questions. It's like, because essentially, I don't know if that was a good move then. Making it so that it's more accessible for new people, because here's the thing, is that's gonna teach people to play focus mode. That's not going to teach people to play Monster Hunter. Like, as in, let me explain. It's more like, imagine somebody being introduced to this game by themselves, right? They don't have somebody to take them through. They don't really look up guides or anything. They think this game looks cool because they bought it for the cover art and maybe they've seen a trailer or something like that, right? So they get the game and it teaches you super intensely about focus mode. And even if it says something in the tooltip or the description or whatever tutorial it gives you, that's like, this is better for getting you more comfortable with your weapon and stuff like that. We saw how effective it can still be with, like, just straight 1v1 fights with Greatsword getting a parry and an instant distance closer and a Punisher. And I feel like that's going to teach new players who don't have experience with Monster Hunter to rely on focus mode and then switch out of focus mode exclusively for mobility and then go right back into it because they think that's how they're supposed to play.
One thing I will say is that I don't think focus mode is actually that powerful. It was just played up that way for the trailer to make it look much cooler.
Oh, so you don't think that there's going to be parries and evasions and guards and stuff with that?
There is going to be, but I don't think they're going to be that strong, and we have no idea about the timing window, because nobody actually got a hands-on on that 30-minute trailer, so all they did was just, or not trailer, but 30-minute gameplay video, or gameplay demo as they call it. They just saw them playing. They got to watch it. So we have no idea what the timing is or anything like that. I'm unsure. I don't know, and I think I'm going to wait to really have an opinion about that until I get my hands on it, because I'm just very unsure, and I don't know, because I have feelings, but I just like, I can wait, because I'm not too worried, and in fact, I mean, I love Greatsword. I'm a Greatsword main. And I love that block with the... Yeah, and I love that block at the end of the trailer, of trailer 1. Was it trailer 1? Yeah.
That was trailer 1. Yeah, it was. I remember that shit like the back of my hand.
That was beautiful. Oh, whatever that blocking was.
Cinematic.
Yes. And so, that's cool. But I feel like it requires some timing and some thought. Because I'm sure you can't just block any attack. I believe in some article they had said it was like, with certain attacks or something like that. So I think it requires a little more thought and effort than just an easy mode button. But that's something we'll have to see.
Okay. You know what? I kind of like your positive outlook on this, and let's be honest, Monster Hunter devs have rarely, if ever, disappointed me with any of the choices that they've made in a game, so...
Clutch Claw.
Listen, see, here's the thing. I grew up with Clutch Claw, so Clutch Claw is like second nature to me. But fair. After talking to many other people and getting multiple different opinions and stuff, I completely understand why people don't like Clutch Claw.
Yeah,
It
no,
works for me, but
it works for me as well, but I still dislike it because it feels that it gets required, and especially because I play like heavier weapons, and I've never really liked how slow and clunky it felt, especially when I played
yeah.
like Greatsword with the Frostcraft or whatever skill from Velkhana, and it
Mm-hmm.
just absolutely tears through it.
Yup.
It's like it's just not very satisfying. It's not very satisfying to do. I will say I've been playing bow recently, and that's satisfying.
Oh my god.
Especially with the shaver
the clutch
tool.
claw attack with that is
It's beautiful. I love it. The
oh my
backflip.
god.
Okay.
And into another shot. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, we're glazing world a little too hard for a second.
All
Hang
right.
on.
We have
All right.
2 IGN articles. The first one I sent you is an interview that they got to have with all 3: Kaname Fujioka, Ryozo Tsuchimoto, and Yuya Tokida.
I just gotta say, by the way, that Gemma is so goddamn pretty.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
even care. I know the internet is simping over her. I don't care. She's beautiful.
She is.
I wish I looked like that. Anyways.
Okay. So, in this IGN interview, we get confirmed that it is a 30-minute gameplay demo.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is the interview! Okay, I started reading the first question of this,
Yeah.
and then I got too excited and left.
Yeah, so, I have just a bunch of quotes from this area. So, let's see. The first question they asked was, what inspirations adapted most from World and Rise, and what might be its most surprising changes. And so they were trying for, quote, much richer environments than before, much more immersion, and to utilize all the different technological advances that have been made since World. So, like, World is not on the RE engine, and
It's on its completely own engine, right?
I believe it's actually on the MT framework, which is the same engine. It was like their the engine before the RE engine, and I believe that's like the same thing that like GU and 4U play on.
Wait, for real?
I
could have
think so.
sworn that they, like, there was talk that it was so difficult to actually make World because they had, like, the engine just did not want to work with them, and they had to make a new engine and new animations and new assets and everything.
They from all I could find, it says the MT framework, but it may just be a modified version of said framework to be able to handle World. Because it's not on the RE engine.
It's not, definitely not on the RE engine. Rise is, though, and that's why I'm so goddamn impressed with this team. If we can, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Rise is ugly, but I don't know if you follow Carl the Crab on Twitter.
No, I do not.
Oh my god, his photos that he posts.
I do follow him. I know exactly who you're talking about. Their stuff is beautiful.
Yeah, but like, here's my point. His photos are fantastic, and he does an amazing job of capturing the monsters. I'm not saying anything about that, but I will say, once you get those close-up images, you can really tell that this was definitely made on a Switch, or made for a Switch first. Like, it's just how it is. It's just the models, it's just the way that it goes, it's totally fine. But basically, my point is, to see the jump from Rise, which didn't look bad, by the way, it was, I mean, it just, you could tell, right?
It was just different. It was stylized.
Uh-huh.
But
And then
yeah.
now Wilds, holy shit.
I'm much more of a fan of how World looked over Rise. I will say Rise had its moments, but yeah, it was designed for the Switch.
Color.
Yeah. I prefer World a lot more. So
Me
I
too.
agree with you there.
But, oh my god, that's insane. So they took a lot of stuff from World, or they utilized all the different technological advances that have been made since World to further deepen the kind of action that's available to players and to enable them to experience a much richer hunting experience in the game.
Yeah. And so I'm happy. And then we have quote, we're not trying to make it like a movie, we're not trying to make it explicitly cinematic. So they, like, a lot of people talk about how the things look cinematic, how the fights look, but that's not their design. that's just like a result of the improvements of like their camera work and focusing on certain elements and the seamless transitioning from cutscene to gameplay. Like on the last trailer we saw, it didn't even click to me that we had transitioned from the cutscene into gameplay because it was so almost smooth. Perfect. Like World does a good job, but you can tell when it like, it little snaps a little bit. But and especially on trailer 1, there was a little bit during the fighting the Doshiguma during the storm. But in Wild's trailer 2, it was significantly better.
I will say though, it really helps that we don't have a UI.
That is true.
Because if we had a HUD and stuff like that activated, we would automatically be able to tell as soon as we went into gameplay. But that aside, that still goes to show that even if you didn't have a HUD, that shows how seamless it is from cutscene to gameplay, which is something remarkable and worth noting.
Yes, absolutely. And here they talk about, a little further, they talk about the clash mechanic and focus mode, and that the point of focus mode is to provide more options for a diverse player base. And so, and then they continue with, so for people who only picked up Monster Hunter with World or who are coming into Wilds as a new player, it's really more of a new feature and a tool to allow players to more easily pick up and play the game. Because when you use focus mode, you'll be attacking in the direction that the camera's facing and directing the cursor. So you can aim your attacks, you can aim your guard, things like that. But that's really kind of to allow players who aren't as experienced with this style of gameplay to accomplish that. So what it accomplishes is more of a gameplay element. So maybe it does just seem like an easy mode. That's because they keep
that's what I'm saying,
pushing that it's for people who are new to World. I don't want to call it an easy mode because I don't know what it's capable of, because we've seen some of those really cool attacks with the greatsword, like the dragging along the monster. I'm unsure if that's actually part of focus mode or not, or if that's part of the wounding system, or if those are
that's what I was gonna say, is that it's been said that the Red Scout. Okay, I say it's been said. I'm talking about on the Japanese PlayStation blog post after that first trailer. There was some stuff that was put in there and then eventually taken out, so we don't fully know, but this was all coming from Gaijin Hunter himself. Described that the Red Scout flies will highlight the wounded and damaged parts of monsters in focus mode.
Yes.
That allows you to go into one of those cinematic moves, like for example, dragging the greatsword across the monster.
That's what we've seen. And I'm unsure, because sometimes it feels like some of the information is conflicting.
Yeah, they don't really know what they want to put out there sometimes.
And again, not all of these. This is IGN. We don't know how actually, how much they've actually played World. It's no Extra Life, so.
Lucky enough in the interview. Yeah, he doesn't really. Casey de Freitas. Sorry to assume that you may be he or she. They don't really go into if they have any background with
World
or
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, they don't really say anything about having a background with Monster Hunter. They just kind of say that they're lucky enough to get a 30-minute Monster Hunter Wilds gameplay demo, which is cool and awesome. You are definitely lucky.
Yeah, this article is fine because it's just the interview, although they do have I have another article following. Or actually, I have another article following where they actually go into the trailer.
I saw that. We did go into more details about some of the changes we noticed in our first impressions of Monster Hunter Wilds.
Yes, I will go into that afterwards, because there's also a Japanese IGN
why is there conflicting information or differentiating information based upon region?
It's just, I think they just clarified it a little better, or just like how the translation clarified it a little better. So,
is it alright if I actually read this section on focus mode out loud?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to kind of take it from the top so I can really hear, because honestly, this is one of the things I'm most curious about, and I really want to hear what they say. Would you say things like the new power clash mechanic and focus mode work towards that goal? And are there any other kind of gameplay elements that supplemented that as well? So, first of all, we appreciate you picking up on that. The power clash, as you said, it is a feature of the hunting, but it does serve that kind of purpose of having a dramatic element and increasing the immersion of the player into the moment of the hunt. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be hella immersed while my charge blade shield is in that fucking monster's mouth. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
But for the focus mode, what we have to understand is it's not really meant for that. The point of the focus mode is to provide more options for a more diverse player base. So for people who only picked up Monster Hunter with World, or who are coming into Wild as new players, you kind of actually read this last part
Yes,
entirely.
I did.
I am curious about why you can aim your guard? Why do you need to do that?
So when you go into focus mode, yeah, like I said, you have a cursor that goes on screen. It allows you to more accurately attack at a specific angle. Whereas, maybe sometimes you have trouble being, like, precise with an attack or a block because they may be directional of some sort. So you may want to be a little more precise, especially for those who are a lot less experienced.
Okay. On literally, I'm only specifically hung up on guarding, right?
Okay.
With a guard in Monster Hunter, do you necessarily aim? Okay, so I don't know how often you block as a greatsword main.
Not very often. I tend to shoulder bash through it all.
It also doesn't help that it severely affects your sharpness. So
that's true. That's something I often forget about, and then it really hits me out of nowhere.
I actually made a conversation on Twitter at one point about if blocking a roar with a greatsword should affect its sharpness.
It should not.
It shouldn't, but it does.
I can understand if that's harder to program mechanically, but anyways.
Anyways, off topic. In my experience, like I said, I've been playing Charge Blade a lot recently. I'm going through World with Charge Blade, and I kind of just point my character in the general direction that the attack is coming from and hold block, and it works. Why do I need to specifically target what I'm trying to block?
That makes sense. I've been playing Lance recently, and it's the same way. I think it's just because certain attacks, you can't move while you're guarding. But again, I don't know if you can do a little. With some, not all weapons. I believe with the Lance you can, but I don't think you can do it with like the greatsword's block.
You can't with greatsword. No, you can't.
And so I don't know if you're able to go from that block into focus mode to. But honestly, with the greatsword, you can just stop the block, turn, and then block again. So I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's weird. I don't really understand what's the necessity of specifically aiming a guard, but I'm sure it'll become so much more clear to me once we get to that point, right?
Yeah, what we really just need is either to see it ourselves, this 30-minute game, or play it. Yes.
Sorry, lost my cool. Okay. Is there anything else in the IGN article you wanted to bring up?
Oh yes, there's quite a bit more actually in this article.
Wonderful. Please go ahead. I keep taking the mic from you.
No, you're fine. So in the next segment, they talk about how, do you remember in trailer 1 where there's those small creatures attacking the Chupacabra?
Yes, I do, and I think they look so cool. They look like bear trap mouth raptors. Like, it looks like their jaws are meant to snap shut and not let go unless, like, disengage.
And that's a beautiful thing. I love how it looks. And the thing is, that can happen to the hunter as well. Quote, even some of the...
We can get jumped?
Yeah, so, quote, even some of the small monsters that come around will have binding attacks. Attacks that kind of immobilize the player in a dramatic fashion.
But this isn't the first time we've seen that.
Not exactly, but... Well, it's usually there's, like, pins for large monsters.
Well...
But have we seen small monsters be able to pin?
I don't know. Jaeger says that their favorite game is Monster Hunter World. Is there a small monster that has a pin?
What? I don't remember.
Walgs.
Oh, you're right. But that was
Yeah.
only in Iceborne.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it suddenly was given to all of the small monsters.
No.
I'm just saying we've seen this before.
No, it's my realization with that is that, like, hey, well, since it was added in Iceborne, that's something they've wanted to do, meaning they've probably evolved on it. And it's probably not going to be just one small monster. It's probably going to be a small, like, horde or herd of them, you know?
Yeah. It's no longer just one dude sitting there biting our throat while all of his friends gather around us and go, yeah, get his ass! Yeah, fuck him up!
Yeah, they need a hype team.
But that's interesting. That's really interesting, actually, and very exciting. Because, I mean, sure, I expect more ways for my hunter to get hit, right? Nah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm mostly interested to see how that affects the other monsters. I want to see.
And they also.
What?
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, I'm not even on a point. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they also have they were talking about like unique binding attacks and such like that. I remember during the trailer 1 that there was a scene where the Chatacopter like licks and the hunter kind of goes down in a weird like hit position.
Yeah, it's like
so maybe they got and so maybe that's a sort of pin because they're able to stick you to the ground with that sticky saliva they have, because that's like the same saliva that they use to like stick materials onto their arms.
Well, see, my only problem with that is that, like, why does your hunter fall from that?
Like I said, because I think
he doesn't get hit by the tongue.
He does.
It does.
Hit by the tongue.
But counterpoint, Velkhana, little freezy pool.
True.
You literally have to like sit there and unstick your feet as you try to slowly walk out of it. That would make more sense than just like, oh god, this ground is sticky, I've fallen. You know?
I think it's like a combo of being hit, like you're knocked over, but you're stuck to the ground.
Did he get hit?
Yeah, he gets hit by the tongue itself.
Did he get tongued and I wasn't paying attention?
Yeah. Do you wanna pause and go look at the trailer right now?
I'm literally in the process of no, not Rise. I'm literally in the process of looking up this trailer right now to see if I'm absolutely tripping balls. Oh god, 165,000 views for Maximilian Dude in 9 hours. I've been avoiding that video like the plague.
You want to go to, let's see. 143, 142. 142, 140-ish, somewhere around
Currently there. Oh, he does. He does get knocked down by the tongue. You are absolutely right.
But he doesn't get sent flying. So
no,
I think he gets Yeah, so I think he gets stuck from the saliva. It could be a pin, it could just be a property of that attack. Who knows?
It's such a little like dainty like oh no, I've fallen.
Falls dramatically.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm getting us off topic again.
You're fine.
But...
No, I like this. I like our little dynamic we have here.
It's fun. I'm enjoying myself right now.
So the next bit, you know about the talking palico, right?
Oh, I love that.
So they actually listened to feedback. They heard that a lot of people didn't like it, and so they're enabling an option that allows you to just make it like meow, just like it traditionally did.
And of course, you can also have it meow 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 as in previous titles, so you can give it cat speak in the game if you really choose.
Yep. So
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to shove it in everybody's faces to be like, nah, fuck you, they've always talked, and let them always talk. No, I'm joking. It's actually really cool that they give multiple options to people depending on their preference. That's kind of been something that Monster Hunter has been really good at doing for a while, so.
The thing is, they want it to talk because there's so much new information and new things in the game that the palico is actually supposed to help point you out things. You know, like there's a trap here, resource. They're supposed to give you tips, and so is Alma.
I heard Tweeting Garuga talk about this on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they did not like it. And they thought that, like, the player should discover all of this stuff for themselves. But I actually completely understand where the dev team is coming from. I kind of want my palico to point shit out to me that I can go check out. That's That's like DD2, my pawn says there's a chest up there. All right, we're gonna go find that chest and figure out how to get there now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I like that little bit. Well, early on it'll be helpful. Maybe later on, where you already know all these things, you may want to disable it, and so maybe there's an option to do so. You know. But it has been helpful. There's also, I believe, later on they mention where it speaks and it tells you whenever it places like a shock trap. It says, hey, I placed a shock trap over here.
Good. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because now it can give me an excuse for fluttering over to me with a Vigor Wasp and putting that shit back in its pocket and taking out its flask instead.
Yeah.
Oh. This next question, by the way, has me curious. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. So they're not a fan of the cat speak. That's unfortunate. Can you tell me if any of the weapons got a big overhaul, kind of similar to how the hunting horn got an overhaul in Rise?
So, yeah, both the bow guns and hunting horn are getting changes. Hunting horn will revert to, like, World's style of hunting horn, or will stay with World's style of hunting horn, but they're also giving an adjustment. And I believe they said that, so light bowgun and heavy bowgun have received some of the most kind of broad action changes, as well as the hunting horn. The hunting horn is going back to a world basis of the action, but on top of that, it's also being introduced a lot of other changes. So we hope you're looking forward to that.
Have you personally dabbled at all into hunting horn, Jaeger?
I've tried it. I liked Rise's hunting horn. I don't want it in mainline, but I did enjoy it for what it was. World's hunting horn is very interesting to me, because I like how you play the songs, and I like how that works where you can play multiple songs, or they have layered effects or something like that, but I feel like it didn't really work with the combat that well, personally. I felt like I either had to hit the monster or play a song, and I felt like I couldn't really do both at the same time.
Yeah, because each of your notes is a different move, and even though you may want to cue a song in that specific scenario when the monsters knock, that might not be some of your best damaging moves, so...
Yeah, or it's like you want to play the song that makes your hunting horn swing left, but you need to swing right or something like that. It's like, you need to be in the perfect position to do the song you want, and... Sometimes it just feels like I just end up grabbing like a buffing song, just play it all before, and then just hammer with the hunting horn, and then when the buff goes away, I just play it again or something, or when the monster's down, you have like the echo attack or whatever.
Wait, so are you going to be running a hunting horn?
Maybe. Hunting horn is not a big one, but I have liked the idea of having a hunting horn as a secondary, so I can buff before we go in, and then swap to my greatsword or something like that. I theorized that maybe something like Team Darkside would do something like that, where they all four of them have hunting horn as their primary when they go in, play a song, and then swap their weapon to their other one, and then go in.
It's so crazy because they're like, the devs try to push that hunting horn is not just a support weapon, right?
Yeah.
But the way that it plays in World
is a support weapon.
It is a support weapon. And like, it's not that we want it to be, it just, that's how you have to play it. There are probably plenty of hunting horn users very mad at the fact that I am saying that, but...
That's how it feels to me, but maybe I just haven't like properly learned
I agree with
how
you.
to hunt with it. I really struggled to learn the hunting horn in World.
Rise's hunting horn made a lot more sense to me.
Yes, but I also feel like it was a little too powerful.
Oh, for sure.
But I did enjoy it, I will say.
So that kind of wraps up the IGN interview.
Not exactly, actually. There's one more thing. And this is something that's made a lot of people upset. And that...
Oh, right. I was skipping past that. Go ahead.
There is the single-player-only segments still from World. And so, you know how you would have to go into a hunt solo, watch cutscene, and then leave and join the main person. Something similar. But they want that because... They intentionally did that because there are things they want you to experience solo.
I
And
don't have as much of a problem with it as other people.
I just think it's tedious. I'm not as upset as other people, and I think they've like worked on it so that you're able to easily join other people after that solo segment is over. And I'll read what they say in the article here.
Please do.
Quote, what we can say is that, so there are going to be story elements in the game when you're playing that you have to witness in solo mode before you can actually play together. So you won't be able to play perfectly together in sync throughout the story with other players. But we've made it a lot more convenient, and we've introduced new features in the game so that in the background you're always connected. And so as soon as you're able to get into a quest together, it matches you up quickly so you can seamlessly go back into multiplayer gameplay. So we've made it a lot more convenient.
I think that's a W.
I think how I've interpreted it is that once the solo segment is over, it almost just slides you into the hunt with the other people. I'm not sure how it works, but yes.
On my own really quick. Playing that you have to witness in solo mode. Well, obviously, that's just world. Won't be able to play perfectly together in sync throughout the story, but we've made it a lot more convenient, and we've introduced new features so that in the background, you're always connected. I don't know what that means. And so as soon as you're able to go into a quest together, it matches you up. So maybe it's like a... This is going to sound really dumb, and this is my super dumb way of breaking this down, but like, maybe it's going to be... You have 4 players in your lobby, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's on the same mission. Everybody goes to start that mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody goes and watches the cutscene on their own, and then they basically just like, after the cutscene's over, because I feel like everybody's gonna leave and go experience the cutscene on their own.
Yes.
And then as soon as the cutscene's over and you go back into gameplay, all of your hunters are back right there.
That's what I believe is going to happen, yes.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense, and I think that's wonderful. No more like, okay, are you done? Okay, is the cutscene done? Okay, now I'm joining, you know?
Yeah.
I'm chill with that. I think that's wonderful. Like I said, it didn't really bother me all that much because I was ahead of all of my friends I was playing with anyways. So I would just be like, okay, you're gonna have to go watch this cutscene in the hunt, and then I'm gonna join you after, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't think that was that big of a deal. To me, it really wasn't. It was inconvenient, sure, but it wasn't like problematic for me.
Yeah, it was inconvenient. Yeah, exactly. You put it exactly the same way I feel. It's inconvenient, but I don't really hate it. I understand. But one thing I do say is that people are still upset, especially because we've had stuff like the Sharish Valda cutscene, where you're able to see all 4 hunters at once. And I feel like they could have
cutscene.
Yes.
And the Fatalis cutscene.
And the Safi Jiva one as well, I believe.
Yep.
And I feel like they really could have...
No, that was just Safi. That was just Safi itself.
Oh, okay.
It was just Safi by itself. But yeah, I see what you mean. I completely agree with you. And those points, actually, if they've done it for that, they probably could have done it for this.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like they're... Like, I believe that some parts should truly be solo. Like, I'm sure there are going to be certain bits where you would want to experience it solo, because that's just how it is. And I trust them. I trust them. I'm gonna let them cook.
I think, honestly, I completely trust them too, but I do think that maybe we are putting too much, like... I don't want to say faith. I don't necessarily want to say... Because that means that, like, they're unfaithful, and I don't think that's true. But I think that we are looking at the gap between World, Rise, and Wilds too large. Because this is the game that's coming out right after Rise, which came out right after World. So maybe it's like, I know there's a lot of things that we want completely fixed and gone, but there's only so much they can do and like so much they can experiment, right?
Yeah, I do see what you mean. Especially because they also moved to a new engine. Well, I mean,
exactly.
Rise is in the RE engine, but World is not, and so they have to put all of that from its engine to the RE engine.
There's no 4-player cutscenes in Rise.
Correct, but there's also no cutscene thing like what World has. All of the cutscenes are immediately before the hunt, and then you just go
we
in.
did all view them together.
Yes,
Yeah.
so you do view them together, but you can A, skip them, and B, you don't have to wait. You don't have to go in, watch the cutscene, leave, and then join your teammate. You just all go in at once. But I'd much rather like World than Rises, because I do not feel that's interesting, and it does not involve the hunter whatsoever in those cutscenes.
So, what you got for me next, Jaeger? Keep it coming. Give me
so
all this information.
I'm just going to briefly skim over the Japanese article, the Japanese IGN article, just because they had just a little clarification. So
I'm gonna go back to your previous article and pull up a picture of the Railgun Wyvern because it's cool.
Okay. So, in that article, they clarify that you can choose the camps at locations, rather than the first IGN article kind of saying that they were predetermined. And that there are a set number of camps in a locale that you can place.
Wait, hang on. I think I'm a bit confused by what you mean by that. So
what
we choose where we put our permanent camps?
That's what it seems like. Or not, they're not permanent though, because you can pick them up. You can like disassemble.
Oh, we're talking about the temporary camp.
No,
we're talking about the temporary camps.
So, okay, you know how World has several camps?
Uh-huh.
Though in Wilds, they're not permanent like that. While that's what the IGN article leads you to believe, the other articles say that those are the camps you can choose to place, and there are several camps you can place, and they can either be in safe locations or in areas where they're destroyed. But you place those camps. They are not predetermined.
Do we have a limited number of camps that we can place per map then?
Yes, that is what I'm just getting to.
So we're gonna have to specifically choose?
You have to choose where you put those camps, yes. Now, there may also be predetermined camps, but that info is... I've seen a lot of different information, so I'm unsure if there are predetermined and you put other camps around, or if it's just you put camps around.
Interesting.
And like I said, you can disassemble those camps and move them around.
So, does that give you materials back that are required for placing that camp then? Or do you just suddenly have one camp and then you go and disassemble your other one and now you have two disassembled camps with you? Or like...
Supposedly, they just cost guild points currently, but that is something they said that they're working on currently.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay. Okay, you said that earlier, and I thought you were referencing that as the temporary camps cost points.
The only temporary camp is the one you have with you as the with your Seikret, I believe.
Right.
So, yeah.
Which, I am gonna spoiler us a little bit, and let you know that I did see that secrets are customizable. And I am so goddamn excited!
I tweeted that out, yeah.
Did you? Oh,
because I'd only seen one person after I tweeted out mention it, and it was a band like Yakris, but it was like in a list of like 10 different things, and I was like, nobody else had mentioned
a list.
Yeah, I have some tweets I saved. A lot of people did end up collecting information, and I kind of like matched that with mine, but I still
Perfectly
like
fine.
Yeah. So
what do you got for me next, Jaeger?
So, I already clarified this, but like NPCs, the scout flies, the palico, they tell you about the stuff that's around you in the environment. And I think what we've seen...
Did they? You didn't clarify on scout flies, necessarily.
So, well, scout flies always show you what's around. You know, like, if there's rocks or honey or herbs, you know, like
I noticed that in the most recent trailer.
So, and that was something that would happen in World. But I believe they will also now show traps, I think. So like,
Scoutflies will highlight traps?
Like environmental traps, kind of like the falling boulders kind of thing. Because there's more than just falling boulders. There's a lot more environmental traps. And in fact, throughout the entire map, there are significantly more traps and just like environmental stuff to interact with. Like significantly more.
If you notice in... Hang on, let me see if I can get here. Let me give you an exact timestamp. At 30... I'm currently sitting at 31 seconds in the second trailer. And if you pay attention to the rock on the left side, there is something on the rock that the scout flies are highlighting and glowing around.
Let me find the trailer. The Monster Hunter trailer 2 is not on Capcom's YouTube.
I always go immediately straight to the Monster Hunter channel. But you can start at 29 seconds or whatever you want to do, but if you pay attention to that group, the closest group of rocks on your left, you'll see the scout flies highlighting something there.
Yeah, it looks a lot like that slinger ammo they have, or maybe some kind of bug.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
That reminds me, I believe somewhere in the first trailer, it looked like there were rocks, like a slinger ammo type rocks. I can't remember where. I had seen it in the screenshot.
Dude, Quetzalcoatl Flores was so on the money about the drawing.
Oh my god, yes.
He was so on that. I put it in my last video because it's so worth seeing. But holy shit, he was on it.
I was going to put it in my my other video because I was working on a follow-up video because there were some things that I missed in my first one.
Right. Okay, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. We'll just move on from that. And
Go ahead.
The last thing from the JP one is that they talk about how the player can talk, but that you know how the handler is always the main person to talk for you. That's not going to change much. While the player can still talk, it's mostly so that they can respond to conversation, and so that they can just kind of communicate. But they are not the primary person talking.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm fine with that.
I'm absolutely fine with that as well, because I personally prefer silent protagonist, because often when we have like dialogue choices in games, they never properly represent how I wish to react. But like, I don't mind a little bit of talking. That's fine. It gives us more character. In fact, I loved the voices in Rise. My character is a female that uses Minato's voice.
Aww. What a base choice too, because Minato's the best.
Oh, absolutely, lady. My man.
Absolutely, the best out of the two. That was cool. Don't get me wrong. Cute, we love a girl that can eat and everything.
She's cute, but I
gotta Minato,
yeah.
Anyways.
All right. And then we'll move on to the.
I had a comment. I had a quick comment.
Yeah.
Is that? Oh God, what was my comment? It was kind of. Before we move on, I want to ask, why do you think the Balahara have that glowing spot in their mouth that's the exact same color as the lightning from the sandstorm and the railgun wyvern?
I think the fact that it looks like the lightning is just a coincidence, and it happens just to be like some kind of...
No way!
I think it's just like a bioluminescence, and because they live in like maybe dark areas, or they dig, because they kind of look like their mouths, I mean, of course they look like oysters or whatever they were called, people were saying, but it also just kind of looks like a mole. And so I just think it's a product of just the environment they lived in, and I don't think it actually has to do anything with the energy, especially because we've seen them spit like that tar stuff.
Exactly. That's why I'm confused though, because here's the thing. Okay, Monster Hunter doesn't do coincidences. Monster Hunter doesn't ever do coincidences, especially when it comes to creature design.
That's true.
Every part of a design for a creature means something and has something to do with that monster. That glowing green part of the monster, of the Balahara, is not going to be just chalked up to... Sorry, I just punched the shit out of my mic. It's not going to be just chalked up to bioluminescence, even though I think that's a plausible theory.
No, I agree with you, but I just can't logically think of like why it would be the same color as the lightning when we haven't really seen them use the lightning. Although again, we haven't seen anything. Yeah, we just haven't seen enough combat with them to really know if it actually has a significance or not.
The glop could be conductive and allows their bite to become paralyzing or thunder element imbued.
That would be interesting. I'm not opposed to that.
Look, it's got to mean something. They designed it that way on purpose, and it is. I don't care how coincidental it is. Monster Hunter doesn't do coincidences when it comes to things like that. That is the exact same color as the lightning, and of the railgun, and of the sandstorm. The exact same color.
We'll have to see if that changes.
You're right. I'm sorry. I know we're on a separate topic. Okay, next article.
Okay, so this is the IGN, another IGN article, but this is them actually analyzing the 30-minute demo trailer that they got to see. The previous ones we saw were just them talking in interviews with the
Dashagama are really mole-like, aren't they?
Yes, for a while I thought those big spots were actually their eyes just like covered in something, but no, those are horns, and that they have like a rat-like face, and they have really small eyes.
Yeah, especially in the key image.
Yes.
That they're using for this article, and I'm looking at the main one here with its mouth wide open like that. The way that the skin tightens over the nostrils and or around the nose and goes down the side of the face and the eyes and stuff. Yeah. It looks so reminiscent of like a mole rat.
You are correct. Yes, it does look like a lot like a mole rat.
But, okay, what do you got for me in this article?
So, they repeat a lot of the stuff we've seen. The portable tent, which allows you to eat and change your equipment. It's like a pop-up tent. Yeah, the town is seamless with the locale. The maps are twice the size. So, you know how I talked about how they go and buy resources, like buy food? In the camp. Apparently, I'm not sure if I misinterpreted this, but there might be small like settlements around the area. Specifically, there was a settlement that specialized in cheese products, and there was a cheesemonger. And we have the classic Monster Hunter comedy with an NPC saying, "This will see Gouda use." That's an actual thing they said.
Don't even expect me to laugh right now, bro, because that shit was cheesy.
That's a good one. There's another one from a different article that I saw that says cheese and thank you.
I'm not gonna lie though, I'm fine with that. Like Suki tweeted about, right? Like Suki tweeted in their vote, like, do you like Monster Hunter because of the serious or the goofy or both?
Both.
I genuinely cannot play this game without both.
I think I would like a serious game, but I feel like it isn't really the same without some of the goofiness. One of my favorite Monster Hunters is For You. It was my first Monster Hunter.
I'm playing through that currently, by the way, and it's really hard to do on 3DS.
Yeah, good luck with that camera controls. I played that shit when I was little. But
it was easier back then.
No, it wasn't. That's why Lock On is so good.
I spam it.
But yeah, I am in love with the Guild Marm. I've wanted the Guild Marm to return. Of course, we're not going to get her to return, but
she rubbed off a lot on Gemma.
Yeah, she's very funny.
Just like a lot of the internet.
Like, she's a nerd, she's a dork, and I love her. She's silly, she's goofy. There's a bit where she, like, references, like, D&D.
And get your dice ready or something like that, she says, right?
Get out your D20. I love her. She's so silly. Oh, yeah, here, Chico Sands isn't your everyday village. It's entirely felines plus one Wyverian chief. Ooh, high fantasy. Let's break out our D20s. I mean, let's decide what we want to do here.
Oh yeah, we love her. She was absolutely made to be wifey to the poor, sad nerds, otherwise known as me, that are playing this game.
Us.
Our wifey.
Yeah, our wifey. But yeah, I'm glad to see that those puns are back.
Oh, yes!
Another thing that's really interesting that the other article didn't... I'm surprised they didn't mention it. When you open up the map, it is no longer 2D. It is a 3D map.
What?
Yes. So, let me see. There was another article that a little bit went more into it, and I'll talk about it again when we get there. So yeah, so it's a 3D map. It shows elevation, and it can be rotated.
It can be. That's gonna be weird. I'm so used to maps being a fixed orientation in Monster Hunter. That's gonna be so strange.
It's going to be. I'm very interested to how it looks like, especially with Monster Hunter, because like you would think that's something that would come from like a hologram or something 3D, and so I'm really interested to see what it would look like. And then
I'm gonna rotate it around myself.
yeah. I believe they don't clarify, but I think you rotate it yourself. So yeah, for the next segment they talk about, and we've kind of had this confirmed in some of the PlayStation blogs of after trailer 2, I believe, that the Seikret can be automatic, kind of like the Tail Raiders in World, where you can pick a point for them, like a scent for them to follow, and then you can just ride on them.
How did you feel about Tail Raiders?
Not a fan personally. I want to be able to control my mount, and as long as it's optional for them to be able to move, I want to be in control of my mount. Even then, though, I didn't like Palamutes in Rise. I only used Palicos, but I'm really interested to see how the Seikret works, especially because it's not a combatant. So yeah.
But it is your Wirefall.
Debatable.
Oh, no, I'm 1000% against that. I'm just saying what the internet says it is.
I don't think it's a Wirefall, because if you really look at the trailer, they whistle immediately before getting hit, and we have no idea if you can whistle while you're in hit stun or when you're down. And so
you hear the whistle continue while you're hit, which is impressive on our hunter's part, by the way.
Yes.
I don't think I could keep up a nice and even tune while I'm getting the shit smacked out of me by a large monster.
I would literally just immediately stop whistling.
Exactly.
Just like...
It's cut short with that.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
But anyways, 3D maps is...
yeah.
interesting, and I can't really give much an opinion on that until I see what it looks like.
That's how I feel. I mean, I feel like I'm a little skeptical because, again, that doesn't feel like the style of Monster Hunter. It feels a little, like, futuristic, but if it's done in a good way, I'm going to be happy with it. I mean, it's not like I can't just not use it. It's the map. But I am interested. I like that it can show elevation, so I'm just really curious to see it myself and, like, what it looks like.
I think I definitely need, before I can form any form of an opinion on, I need to see what it looks like and what they're talking about, because especially with the 3D already is like, whoa, that's weird for Monster Hunter, but rotate it too, so it's not fixed orientation? That's also strange.
Apparently, yeah. And then, the next bit they show the portable tent again, where it's temporary, you place it down, change your gear on the hunt, cook food, etc. So yeah, you cook your own food, you have to bring your own ingredients, stuff like that. And so they go hunt an alpha Doshaguma, or Doshaguma. I think it's Doshaguma, as they say in the trailer.
They said it in the trailer, and that's how I've started pronouncing it too, even if I hate it.
And so, I wasn't sure. Trailer 1 was a little confusing when they kept showing just, like, normal Doshaguma and the alpha one. The alpha one is significantly more red. So, that's something we got it, like, as a clarification. Okay, next bit. When they go to hunt it, right? They use a ghillie mantle. So, mantles are back.
Oh?
Yes.
Mantles?
So I'm kind
Please no temporal. Please no Rocksteady. Oh my god.
I agree hard with those two right there. I like some of the other mantles. I feel like some of them. Ghillie and Glider are good. I kind of like the elemental resistance ones because they're more of like
situational.
Well, they're situational, but they're also just like a good tool for maybe someone who is not great at like making armor sets, or like, you know, they have the skills they want but not the defense they need. So it's like an accessibility thing, kind of, for those elemental ones.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Even in endgame, I still be bringing a fireproof mantle against Teostra sometimes because the fire aura is crazy.
Yeah. Although, honestly, for me, what really just gets me with the fire aura is the range. I was trying to fight it with a bow yesterday. Not fun.
Oh, it's so frustrating. I did a light bowgun playthrough of World, so I completely and utterly feel your pain.
Yeah.
I understand. Those zeros are stupid.
Yeah, at least make it a 1 or a 5.
Please, just show me that I'm not doing anything without it making it actually nothing.
I much prefer how Lunastra did it, where it's like, what actually blocks is the fire on the ground, and so your positioning matters. That's a lot more interesting and a lot cooler.
Yeah, because then you just gotta, okay, I gotta move around the fire, not, oh, I need to only hit the tip of his nose.
Yeah. So, yeah, so...
Mantles are back, I'm fine with it as long as it's not, like I said, the utility, like,
all they saw was the
completely changes combat.
So all we know is the Ghillie Mantle. No other mantles were used or seen.
Yeah, Mr. Dr. Professor Jaeger. May I call you Mr.?
Yes.
Mr. Dr. Professor Jaeger. Have you yourself gone through World multiple times? As in more than once?
I am doing my 3rd playthrough with a friend who's doing their 1st playthrough.
Wonderful news, wonderful news. So, have you noticed about how much better things like the Ghillie Mantle and hiding are in World, especially when like sharpening and stuff like that at the beginning?
That's true. I never use the Ghillie Mantle, but I do use the little bushes to hide, just to sharpen or heal.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like all of that completely disappears by like Iceborne.
Monsters are a lot harder to lose, especially because many of them can just find you easier.
Also, the Hoarfrost Ridge really does not have that many hideable spots in it.
Yes.
It's very flat and very sparse.
There's actually something special that happens when they put on the Ghillie Mantle. They don't talk about it in this article, but if I can find it...
Initiate a battle with a sneak attack? Is that like an actual mechanic, or is that
or maybe they did and I missed
flare?
it. So
no, I'm reading it just like right here, right above the picture of the Deshagama.
Let's see.
The hunter targeted an alpha Dushagama within a herd of the beasts.
So
the alpha's larger size and redder fur differentiated it from the rest, and the hunter donned a Ghillie Mantle to approach unnoticed and initiate the battle with a sneak attack.
So there is a button-prompted sneak attack.
What?
Yes. So, like, I guess some, like, you know, what I assume, they didn't describe it in this article, and some of the other articles were very vague about it, but my assumption is something like a backstab in Dark Souls.
I'm actually okay with that.
I don't mind it either.
That's awesome.
Especially if you're undetected.
But I want to really see what they mean by that. Because
Yes.
I don't know if it's just like a sneak attack, like, I know it says press a button to initiate a sneak attack, but is that just like whatever move you do has like double damage, like against the sleeping monster, or like...
That's why I think the phrasing button prompted, and that's from the Games Radar article that we'll look at in a minute. That's what I think that wording button prompted is like specifically. It's a button you press to do a specific attack.
Okay.
So, following this, the IGN article eventually talks about the lightning flying wyvern showing up.
I'm so hyped to hear about this. Tell it to me, Edgar.
And so they show up with the storm. So it seems like they only appear when the storm appears. And
Which makes sense.
And I don't think they cause the storm, but rather just live in the storm itself.
Well, I mean, if you've adapted to the very thing that generates your power, would you not follow your source of power?
Exactly. A lot of people theorize that it was, like, making the storm, but then if you were to hunt it and kill it, the storms would go away. And so, of course, that's not what actually happens. It's just following the storm. And Apparently does a lot of damage. Some of the articles say that it does about 4,000 damage to the Alpha Doshiguma.
Wait, hang on.
Like
I'm reading this. So I'm reading this little excerpt about this,
Yeah.
and it says, "This was the apex of the plains, the new wyvern shown in the most recent trailer at Summer Game Fest. Usually, this lightning-wielding flying wyvern, presumably, no, that's definitely a flying wyvern,
100%.
shows up with a storm, but the presenter said this time it appeared a little early. To attack, this yet-to-be-named wyvern braces itself on the ground and closes its plate-like horns into a pointed formation to aim a beam of electricity." Okay, so that means this dude can generate electricity on his own.
Presumably, yes.
What do you mean, presumably? I mean, is that not confirmed with, like, him saying that they show up before the storm and he's able to do the beam attack?
It says, quote, shows up with a storm.
Usually.
Well, okay, no, so they said it appeared early. I think they just meant the storm and it appeared earlier than they intended for it to appear.
I don't know. I don't know. That sentence specifically says, usually, this white lightning-wielding flying wyvern, presumably, shows up with a storm.
I see what you mean
But
now.
the presenter said this time it appeared a little early, which means it appears before the storm to go attack the Deshagama, and then it does its cool attack. So does it just have, like, one of those in stock, and then it needs the storm to recharge its power?
I think so. It does say that the attack, where you ended, it continues, quote, "It's an attack that requires some build-up and looks especially impressive. And though it didn't happen in my demo, I heard it had the ability to one-shot an unsuspecting or careless hunter."
Wait, so that means that it didn't do that in the hunt?
It didn't hit the hunter.
Or does... It's in a... Okay, I'm not doing this because I think you're dumb or anything. I'm just making sure that we're both on the same page with stuff like this. It's an attack that requires some build-up and looks especially impressive. And though it didn't happen in my demo, I heard it... I don't know. That's like up to interpretation. When it says it didn't happen in my demo, is it referring to after with the ability to one-shot an unsuspecting hunter? Or is it referring to the before with it's an attack that requires some build-up and looks impressive?
I very much think it's the one-shot didn't happen in the demo because of the way of the formatting of the sentence. That's something we'll have to find out.
I guess it's just something we'll figure out.
Although
I don't know. This means that either A, it can generate electricity on its own, or B, it needs the storm to generate the electricity for it.
The other articles do mention that it does the attack, but I don't know if they mention that it comes early. So, because they do have numbers, like I said, some of them had said it does about like 3,800 damage, or similar to 4,000 damage.
It's fucking...
Yeah, it's a lot of damage.
Jesus Christ.
And does that
Our
to the
hunter has a max of 250 health.
That's why they said it has potentially the ability to one-shot a hunter.
It looks awesome, and I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the way the wing membranes connect to the side. And they don't connect how I thought that they did to the wings. It looks like...
Yeah.
It looks like the sides actually are on the outside, or the inside of the membranes. Well, and then it connects to like a bit of an outage on the outside.
The sides kind of stick out, as you can see with the one on the right. The left one looks like it's connected to the wing, but actually, if you look at the right one, it is sticking out very much and not connected.
I'm so interested. I'm so interested in how those wings look so specific that, like, they've got to... I don't know. Anyway.
So, the next bit is, they get away from the monster, and they use an SOS flare. And what happens is, because they're offline, NPCs appear. So instead of calling in 3 other hunters, like players, you are able to call in NPCs to help support you.
Followers are coming back?
I don't know if it's followers or if it's random NPCs. I'm unsure how it works, if you maybe have to set them up beforehand or not.
That's basically followers, though,
yes,
right? What I'm saying
is
is
similar.
like taking in AI people instead of other hunters if you don't have friends to play with.
This is why Dragon's Dogma 2 was a tech demo.
Dude, that's genuinely how I feel about DD2 at this point.
Yeah.
This was all just to showcase what the fuck Wilds can do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so quote.
I'm seeing the article is also talking about a power clash. If you would be willing to dive into that.
We already went into that. That's like the holding up the sword thing. We had mentioned that previously, yeah. And so here again with the NPCs bit, quote, eventually the hunter was able to escape the new threat and tackle the Alpha Doshaguma with the help of some NPCs called upon by an SOS flare, a mechanic that allows you to summon other hunters seamlessly at will into your current hunt. When online, these would be other players, of course. So yeah, and then they go on and talk about like the power clash, like the really cool scene we saw at the end of trailer 1 and stuff like that. And then it seems like that's where maybe the end of the demo is, or well, they talk about some other things as well, just some other key moments throughout it.
I do want to bring attention to this one part that I'm looking at that says, and this is really short, and I promise I'll keep it short. It says, and I quote, The thunderstorm that followed impressed me. The visuals of lightning crashing down onto the sands and flashing in the background were mesmerizing. At one moment, the hunter called back to a tent on a cliff and looked off into the distance, where the storm rumbled against a peculiar environmental structure. So, does the storm come in and then surround the half circle in the center of the map?
That sounds very interesting.
Interesting. All right, take me to the next place, Jaeger. Right, I love this wonderful trip I'm going on.
They have a bullet point list of just things that, you know, they have key moments from the demo. So they talk about how the Palico having a voice helps the player understand what's happening. So like environmental changes, things happening in real time. Like, for example, quote, for example, the Palico spoke and said, "Shock traps down and ready for you," in the demo. I can definitely see the audio cues being helpful when it's difficult to read text in the middle of action.
That's actually what I was going to say.
Yeah. He assured me and you would change. Assured me you can change the voice back to the familiar meows. And so yeah, so like we mentioned before, they might be a little more helpful when they speak, but you can change it back to the meowing.
I'm personally going to allow like I want Yahweh to talk. That's all I'm gonna say. I want to hear what Yahweh has to say.
That's your Palico's name, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mine's Stardust.
Stardust?
Yeah. So I usually have it like a main black color and then like light gold accents, kind of like, you know, stars in the night sky.
That sounds absolutely wonderful to look at.
Yeah, they're adorable. But moving on. The next bullet point is very interesting. You can now pick up and reposition barrel bombs.
Yeah, okay, that is also, I mean, that just makes sense logically, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I just saw another bullet point, and I know I'm not following in the order that you're going on. Great thunderbugs only appear in the plains during those thunderstorms? Great thunderbugs are back?
What are great thunderbugs?
In old gen, thunderbugs used to, well, no, that would be fulgurbugs, right? No, that's not the same. Fulgurbugs are different from thunderbugs because fulgurbugs are what goes on with Zinogre.
Yeah.
But it says, and I quote,
"Oh, I know what a great thunderbug is. It's those giant balls of light."
The collection, yeah, it's the fireflies that are dangerous and hate you.
Yeah.
That's interesting that they're back.
So those are back, yeah.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah, hey, I'm excited. We haven't seen those since. Oh God, they weren't in
Gen
Rise.
U.
They weren't in World. Oh yeah, it was Gen U.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they were in 4U.
No.
Maybe on
Well, I don't know.
maybe on a
I haven't got
specific
far enough.
map, but whatever.
It would have to be the only one that I know that they appear in is it's not the Flooded Forest. It's maybe it's Misty Peaks that I'm thinking
There's
of.
also
I think
a
it's
tower map.
true.
One of the towers. That's the one where I recognize them the most from. But
Okay, continue on.
I will say, so I'm going to say something from another article that I did
Okay.
see someone tweet, and I actually had to track down the article myself. Back, or all the way in this article from WCCF Tech, they say that you can, not just being able to pick up and move the barrel bombs, but you can also tip them over and roll them.
You can roll your barrel bombs?
Yes.
What? Okay.
So you can go
Don't get me
bowling.
wrong, that's cool, but why?
That's a good question. I honestly, if that is true, that's the only thing I'm ever going to do whenever I try to wake up the monster when it's sleeping, let's be honest. I'm just going to have everybody put all
Get
their
up a
barrel
slight
bombs on the
incline.
head, and then I'm just going to put mine down just a little couple feet away, tip it over, and roll it. It sounds so much fun. Oh, imagine... Oh my god, imagine setting up barrel bombs as, like, pins and just playing, like, a game of bowling out in the field.
That sounds like this game is going to create some of the most interesting ways that you'll be able to hunt ever. You'll be able to set up traps, pre-roll traps, or something like that.
Oh my god, imagine setting up like a Rube Goldberg machine with explosions of the barrel bombs.
Exactly! That's exactly what I was thinking of. You just had a cooler name for it.
Yeah!
Oh, what the...
Or like a line of dominoes, but instead of dominoes, it's barrel bombs.
I'm not gonna lie though. What part of playing through the games recently made them go, you know what would be sick? Is if I could roll my barrel bomb. We could fucking chuck them straight down and rise.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe that's it.
is this the next evolution? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But anyways.
And then they talk about how the wounds will appear as you fight. That's not too much. We already know that. Something that's very interesting is that when okay, I'll just read it, quote, because it's very short. Quote, a red line from a monster to you notes when a monster will chase you.
Wait. It will note when a monster will chase you?
So I assume it's something similar to Behemoth or Safi Jiva when the aggro is onto you. Yeah, the ire.
Yeah.
And so, and I think this ties into something specific that they didn't mention in this article, I think, but I did see in another article, is that, so you know how you can attack while you're on the mount?
Right.
You're not actually meant to be, like, doing full hunts on the mount. And it doesn't really do much damage, but what it does is it draws the monster to aggro onto you. And to kind of, like, guide them. And so you could, like, it might be kind of like a way to use, like the skink, the skunk mink or stink mink in Rise.
Yeah, or the challenger mantle?
Yeah, yeah, challenger mantle. Yeah.
Yeah. So they basically combined that into your moveset.
Yes, so while attacking on the mount, you can, like, draw monsters, maybe to guide them to another monster, start a turf war, something like that. Or maybe just drag one, or maybe drag one away from the herd. And I think that's interesting.
Would the herd not follow?
Well, I think
an alpha?
I think the alpha, well, they would follow, and in fact, I believe even after they killed the alpha, the herd came after the hunter and started attacking them for killing the alpha.
So, how much health do you think those other smaller members of the herd are gonna have compared to the alpha, which I'm assuming is an entire hunt's worth?
Not that much. Maybe, like, the most health they have is, about as much as a small, like, large monster that you would see at the beginning of a game. Kind of like a drone. somewhere
'Cause,
around that.
If you watch the second trailer that was released, when the Balahara, when you're going through that cinematic event and the hunter or the huntress is using her bowgun to like shoot an auto lock onto the Balahara,
Yeah.
there's two of them that in succession to each other have this same like animation that they do that's like, ah, God, I've been hurt. I'm assuming this means I'm going to slip away now and leave you alone type stuff. But they have this same animation that looks like okay, you've done enough damage. This one specifically isn't gonna mess with you.
What I think that is actually them getting interrupted from doing that spitting attack where they spit out the glob, because they look, because they're half sticking out with their arms kind of like sitting in the sand, I think.
It's been so long since somebody's just sat down and been like, you want to talk about Monster Hunter?
Hey man, I've been waiting for this.
Okay, what do you got for me next, Jaeger?
Literally the next bullet point, and I'm just going to read it out because it is very interesting. Well, actually, yeah, the next two are very interesting, but we'll read this first one. So, each biome in these forbidden lands have different environmental phases, and different material will only be available during certain times. For example, the Windward Plains has a dry and abundant phases, punctuated by sandstorm weather, events that have severe lightning strikes. And then there's the Great Thunderbugs bit. So,
which is weird.
So
Still haven't seen them since 4th gen.
We kind of, like, know this a little bit from the other trailers, but the plants and the animals and the materials change depending on when the weather is, and this doesn't seem to be just for the Forbidden Lands. It's going to be for all of the locales, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next...
Which is great! That's wonderful news!
Yes, I like it.
I'm excited to see a blizzard in the Tundra map.
Oh,
that's
that
all
would
I'm gonna
be beautiful. I'm curious.
That's all I'm gonna...
For like a hot map, I'm curious what kind of weather would happen there. Oh my god, imagine like
it's gotta be the volcano erupting. Yep.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a volcano erupting. Absolutely, 1000%.
Right. So the next bullet point, I'll just read out as well. If you're patient, you can watch the endemic life live out their life cycles. For example, a bird building a nest, hatching eggs, and feeding its young. Fujioka said their goal with the Monster Hunter series has always been to make players feel immersed in a living ecosystem, just like a real natural environment, and intend to deepen that concept in Wilds. So this is a endemic life. Not a small monster, not a large monster, an endemic life.
That has a life cycle.
Yes.
Wait, so when we say endemic life, do we mean a usable life? Like a paratoad?
They may just mean like the smaller creatures that exist around. Because those were considered endemic life in World as well. Just all the small creatures.
Yeah. I guess you're right, yeah.
You know, like the geckos that would be in the caves or the tarantulas and stuff like that. They never really had a purpose other than decoration in your room, but they were endemic life.
So does that mean that we'll be able to like possibly keep pets in our rooms?
Potentially, we have no idea. I would assume so. Please, Capcom, please.
But they live out entire life cycles in a hunt? That's a little strange on a time a time thing, but there's going to be so much that we're going to be able to just play this game without actually hunting. We're going to be able to play this game and just go in and be and take in and just witness.
This is going to be my comfort game, and I'm not even going to have to hunt. I'm just going to be able to explore. And I'm just going to be able to imagine. Oh my god! Imagine just being able to just sit on the edge of a cliff and looking over the large map, and like seeing the weather change.
I'd love to sit on that cliff with you.
Hell yeah, man!
She said hell no.
I said hell yeah, man. I love my words.
Your first slip sounded like hell no. Hell yeah, man.
Not my intention. That's all of that article, though. Because the rest of the bullet points are just other repetition. Again, the hunting horn and bowgun changes, and the...
Still curious by what that means, by the way, that the light bowgun and heavy bowgun have received some of the most kind of broad action changes. What that means? No idea. Curious as hell about it, though.
So the next article we have is from Games Radar. The title claims they have 500 hours, and so here's some things they point out, and it's listed as like a 13 list bullet point, whatever.
Austin Wood, you're a goat.
I hope he's being truthful.
You better be, because if you're lying about your hours, that makes me sad.
Alright, I'll probably skip over a couple because we've already talked about them. Like, the first one's about wounding monsters being easier. Whatever. Focus mode lets you focus on fighting monsters, not the camera. So I'm going to read this because, maybe it'll give us some more information. I wasn't totally sure what focus mode, a new stance available to all weapons, really is, so I asked director Yuya Tokida about it. It's not a lock-on camera setting, he explained, but rather a way to set your angle related to the monster more easily than you could before. This makes it easier to stay focused on attacking or defending, Tokida says, and ensuring that your moves are going to connect properly. There are no limits on focus mode either, it's not tied to a resource like stamina, so you can use it as much as you want.
So, it doesn't have a resource.
No, it doesn't. I thought it might have something like stamina.
I'm kind of disappointed by that, actually.
I'm curious if they've been building up some of focus mode too much, and that in reality it just lets you just kind of like aim like a light bowgun or a heavy bowgun, but
you get entirely new moves that are exclusive to focus mode.
Which is strange, yes.
That's what I'm saying, is that I feel like focus mode is low-key having a bit of an identity crisis from the details that they're giving us.
Yeah, I feel very conflicted.
Yeah, because they say, on one hand, there are moves and things that are exclusive that you can do to focus mode, right? Which just sounds like the new combat gimmick, right? Like a wire bug or a clutch claw. But then they say it allows people of all stripes to get in on the hunting action. And it makes it easier to aim and stuff like that. And it's like, well, this doesn't sound like something that's more of a capitalized based on your skill level and sounds more of a completely simplified. But that contradicts the information of you get moves exclusive to focus mode.
Well,
I don't know how to feel.
That's something we'll probably have to find out from some of the many people who I know on Twitter are going to Gamescom.
So fucking jealous.
We'll have to ask
so
them.
Jealous.
We'll have to ask them to specifically let us know what focus mode is, like how it feels.
I've got a mute that I'm. Oh god, mic okay still? You hear me? Cool. I punched my cord for a second there. I've got a mute who's going there, or a mute that's going there that I'm pretty sure I'd be able to get a decent amount of information out of them for how they would feel about it.
Hit me up with that information, man. I need to know.
I got you. I am sending you every single bit of it that I get.
Oh god, hell yeah.
But oh god, I want to go to Germany so bad.
Bro, I wish
I'd hear myself say that. Oh, okay.
All right.
So, enough about focus mode. There is literally nothing more that we're going to be able to give an opinion on until we try it out for ourselves.
Yeah. All right.
Fine with me.
Moving on.
Every weapon has a new attack?
Yes. So, I'll just read out their bit again. Quote, I saw a few normal weapon animations that look new to me. I still need to see a little more here. Oh god, I can't read. I'm gonna start over.
Okay, take your time.
Quote, I saw a few normal weapon animations that look new to me, but I still need to see a little more here before committing to specifics. But I know for a fact that every weapon has at least one new attack, because focus mode comes with an exclusive attack that deals extra damage when you use it to break a wound.
What does that mean? Break a wound? Does that
mean
break open a wound? Break a part? What does that mean?
I think it means whenever you attack a wound specifically with that attack. Or maybe just whenever
do you get guaranteed breaks now?
I don't know if it's break. if it's a
They
guaranteed break or not.
specifically use the word break.
When you use it to break a wound. I don't know what that means. Maybe that's the form of, like, Clutch Claw, whereas wounding it doesn't actually cause that Clutch Claw effect. But whenever you do the focus mode attack, it then becomes that weakened spot.
But then that conflicts the information that we got, that just attacking a spot in general turns it into a wound.
I don't know. This is why we have to find out more information.
So, we need to play the fucking game, what we need to do.
I don't even need to play it. I just need to see whatever this 30-minute video was for myself.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree with that, actually. I 1000% agree.
Oh, here, no, actually, if we continue, you can pop wounds with normal attacks too, but it seems you'll deal less damage.
What?
So,
no, that still confuses me.
No,
what do you mean by pop a wound?
So you know how I previously said earlier with some of the other articles that you can still do that Clutch Claw thing just by attacking it? What if when you do this focus mode attack, it opens that wound more? So it's like there's like 2 levels of the wound, I guess.
So does that mean that there's 2 levels of the damage you could be outputting?
Potentially.
Then I feel like they're going backwards.
That's like the Clutch Claw. Again, that's a hypothetical. That's just me theorizing. So
true.
We'll have to wait and see.
I'm so nervous.
The Greatsword's focus move quote, the Greatsword's focus move seems to be a counter stance that leads into a running charge attack of some kind, and the Longsword seems to have an alternate spirit combo, but I don't want to read too much into animations just yet. Still, new moves for all 14 weapons? Good news. That is good news.
I have multiple things. Okay, again, have multiple comments. First of all, we kind of saw, right, the counter stance that leads into a running charge attack. It's basically, from what it's been described to us, it's going to be how the warrior vocation passive worked in DD2. Is that you just need to time your attack to hit the monster's attack. Right? Okay. Which is cool. I'm down with that. That was sick as fuck, and when I dabbled in Warrior for a bit with my Arisen, it felt really good to do stuff like that. And so I'm not opposed to that. Next comment. Longsword seems to have an alternate spirit combo. Do you mean a third? because I've got 2 already. I've got normal Spirit Round Slash combo, and I've got the Spirit Reckoning combo, also known as the Valor Longsword combo. But is this a third one?
Maybe, or maybe they just misinterpreted it. I mean, they have 500 hours, but that 500 hours could be with 1 weapon. I'm not going to say that.
It could be a Charge Blade main.
We don't know, so...
but I'm so excited. I'm happy with new moves. Please, give everybody new moves. Okay.
The NPC hunters are back. We've talked about that and how they're and they seem to be random NPCs and not any particular characters, and they hope that maybe there might be specific ones, kind of like how we did in Rise.
The star of our demo used the Greatsword, Longsword, and Heavy Bow. Wait, the star of our demo used the Greatsword, Longsword, and Heavy Bow. They used 3 weapons?
The 3 NPCs.
The star of our demo.
Yeah.
Which means
they probably
the main character.
They probably swapped weapons.
I wonder which one they swapped out for a longsword. And I'm also kind of not surprised, low-key, that they used a longsword in the demo. Because, I mean, that's like the 3rd main weapon of Monster Hunter. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased towards longsword.
That's just how it is.
Monster Hunter. Yeah, Monster Hunter is biased towards longsword.
Alright, and then we'll move on to point 5.
Right.
Bringing 2 weapons is no gimmick. And so what, what do they mean by that? So, having 2 weapons is not just, a gimmick or a mechanic or, the new thing. It actually has, some thought put into it. And while, you could probably do something like, having paralysis on 1 weapon and then, having, I don't know, crit or something, or poison or sleep, whatever. You can do that, but Togeda, so quote, but Togeda seems to be teasing something more. And then Togeda goes on to say, I can't go into too much detail just yet because we have a campaign ahead of us to reveal more gameplay details. But I would say that as the story progresses, players will be able to gain access to skills or features that will tie into this new system of using 2 weapons at the same time. As to what exactly that means, watch this space. We just started revealing information.
Oh my god.
So we're going to have the
synergy skills.
We're gonna have that, or we're going to have skills like the what Rise had with the swap scrolls, where depending on what scroll you have like a different buff. So depending on which weapon is in which slot, you may have a different buff depending on which weapon you use.
So because currently the way that my mind formulated that is there's a skill that when you have your I'm just going to speak on my weapon mains for this, okay? When you have your longsword out, you do 10% extra part damage, right? Which would be like, and this is hypothetical, completely and utterly. So extra 10% or 15%, something like that, part break damage for when using longsword. In other words, focus the tail, right? Then you swap to hammer, plus 25% stun damage when using a hammer or a blunt weapon, right? That's... I feel like if they go into weapon-specific skills, like synergy skills between 2 weapons, they're going to unfortunately create a meta.
I don't think they're going to weapon-specific skills, but rather the slot-specific. So like how the swap scrolls had, like, if you were on your blue scroll, you have more defense, and if you're on your red scroll, you have more attack. So rather than being specific to a weapon, it's being specific to which slot that weapon is in.
Oh, so you don't think that there's just 2 weapons that you take out with you. You think there's a primary weapon and a secondary weapon.
Well, you do take out 2 weapons, but I think that whenever you're setting up your equipment in camp, that you have a primary and secondary weapon slot. Or, like, just slot 1, slot 2. It doesn't have to be a secondary, but it's just, like, it's in its own slot so that it differentiates which one is which. And so you may have a skill that's, like, slot 1 does, like, part breaker, and slot 2 does, like, weakness exploit. Or something like that. That's just an example, but, like...
I'm interested. I want to see what they can create with something like that.
Mm-hmm. And so they said that we're getting access to skills and features that tie into the system. So it might not even be like an armor skill or something specific, but maybe you can like upgrade or like have like permanent effects depending on what weapon is in what slot. Potentially.
Oh god, I don't even know if I can begin to process how something like that would work.
I can't.
That's
either.
something that's hard to visualize in my mind's eye, and that's something that I would need to see fleshed out in front of me before I would be able to process that.
Yeah. Alright, moving on to number 6. Quests are seamless now. We've talked about that. One thing we didn't mention is that after the Doshagama hunt, you can just stay out in the wild. You don't have to return back.
Perfect! Wonderful! Get to explore!
Yeah. Much like how in a world, you could like return to camp or something, but you would teleport back to camp. I assume you can just stay right where you are and then go do another hunt.
So it's like, I'm still feeling good after that Deshakuma hunt. Oh, I saw a Rathalos fly by earlier. Let's go see what the fuck he's up about.
Yeah. Point 7, you can build temporary camps. Yeah, honestly,
That's so
really
Guiding
cool.
Lands.
Yeah, it feels like the game is more expedition than it is quest. Because the quest doesn't start until you hit the monster, actually. Much like Wild Hearts.
That means that you have so much time for preparation, which like all of those old intro cutscenes that we've seen of the like hunters like setting up barrel bombs and traps and stuff like that actually means something now.
And this bit about the quest not starting until you hit the monster, I have a tweet by Shincry, because they talk about there was an issue, I guess quote unquote issue with this in Wild Hearts, where you could have a 0-second long hunt in Wild Hearts because the timer did not start until you hit the monster. And essentially, if the monster never like spots you and you keep it stun locked, you can have a 0-second hunt. Because since it never spots you, but you keep it stun locked and kill it, the timer never starts.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds kind of broken.
Well, seeing as how it probably doesn't matter about the timer, and it depends on how Wilds actually does start the timer, whether it's when the monster spots you or whenever you deal the first hit of damage. Who knows? But it'll also be different for stuff like some of the Balahara and the Doshagama, because there are other monsters around, so even if you initiate one, the other ones, even if you stun lock one monster, the others will probably still initiate combat with you. I think it's just more funny than anything, because you don't get more rewards for being faster.
Right, of course. It's just more like, I did it in an instant.
Yeah. It would be funny, though.
But, okay. I'm down for more exped... I don't need to teleport back to camp after, or back to hub after every hunt. So, I'm so chill with that.
I'd rather prefer not to use fast travel, but if the maps are twice as big, maybe I'll have a camp in like the four corners or something. But that's about it.
That's what I was gonna say, is that, like, I mean, based for trying to not use fast travel, but at the same time, it's also like, every time that you're hunting, are you going to be able to just completely and utterly take all of your time?
Well, it seems that, like, the timer doesn't, like I said, the timer doesn't start until you actually hit the monster. So... And
is there a pause button?
Not sure. Someone says they think they might have seen them pause, but they aren't sure if they paused the recording or paused the gameplay. And so I don't think there is a pause button, but that's something we'll have to see, maybe as more information comes out.
Gilly Mantle coming back is really exciting.
Yeah.
Gilly Mantle coming back is wonderful. I think that's a perfect... I think that's just, like I said, that and Glider Mantle are like what I think are like the perfect mantles in the game. So...
I like the Challenger Mantle, but it seems like we won't need that anymore.
Exactly. Not if it's been implemented into your mounted combat.
Yeah. Skipping a couple points because they talk about like the camps and the maps, like and the map size, which we've already talked about. Number 9, maps go through phases of abundance rich with free healing. So,
wait, what?
They talk about how the maps are significantly bigger, so there's more like stunning bugs, vines, sand pits, traps, all that jazz. But then there's also like phases where they can have like more growth. So there's like a lot more vigor wasps or the healing plants.
Wait, vigor wasps are coming back?
They do mention vigor wasps here, so
they do say that right there. But like, I thought they were a New World exclusive type thing.
Well, we don't know if this is the new world or not. It definitely doesn't seem like the old world. But it doesn't
seem like either.
It's not a sequel to World, so...
It doesn't feel like either one of those things, honestly. It feels like it's its own separate third thing.
Potentially.
But, I don't know. I haven't played the video game. Anyways.
Next, they talk about dynamic weather and how it's actually kind of a serious threat. Like the lightning flying wyvern coming in during it, which is again the apex predator of the Windward Plains.
I'm kind of low-key happy to hear that, honestly.
They don't say that it's a flagship, and they say that it's like the apex. So we may not have, as I theorized and a bunch of other people theorized, how we may have like multiple flagships, one for each locale. They may not be called flagships, they might just be called apexes, like the top of the food chain for that locale. Potentially.
Makes sense. If you can turn your face into a fucking gun, it kind of makes sense that you get to eat whatever you want.
But it may not be a flagship, which is very interesting.
So do you think that there's going to be a, like, Nergigante flagship? Where, like, it just kind of appears in any locale, and it's kind of adaptable and just overall aggressive, or like...
I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be in all the locales if it's not one of the apexes.
One thing that I just personally get excited for with a flagship is knowing that the flagship will have, a weapon from every tree as well. So I'm just excited to see what all of the designs are for
Yeah.
all of the cool flagship.
One thing I did dislike with like Rise is how not all of the weapons had a specific. Even World has some of this sometimes. Not every monster has a weapon for every, weapon.
Bro, Adogaron had like fucking 4 weapons, and it makes me so sad.
He's such a cool monster. I love his armor.
Such a cool monster with such cool armor, but like,
Yeah.
fuck all for weapons.
Yep.
Anyways.
And then they talk about how mantles are back. We don't know how many because we only saw the Gilly mantle, but that's all. A lot of people liked mantles. Some didn't like you and I. We don't like the Rocksteady or the Temporal mantle, but mantles are in some form back. And then this is where we talk about the sneak attack, where the Gilly mantle, and I think the Gilly mantle might be combined with like the Assassin's Creed mantle that was for a limited time in World. With the
which is kind of a cool way of buffing it.
Yeah, because Gilly mantle was honestly fairly useless, I think.
Other than hiding to go sharpen and heal. Yeah.
Yeah, but and for a lot of the maps, like especially the Ancient Forest, there were just so many like hidey areas you didn't need the Gilly mantle.
I completely agree with you.
But yeah, so they mention here, I'll read the segment. The Gilly mantle ended up being pretty powerfully offensive too, because it let our hunter sneak up right up to a Doshagama to deliver a proper button-prompted sneak attack to jumpstart the hunt with a burst of damage. And then they list some numbers, how Charged Greatsword did like 234, and the sneak attack did 522.
So it's literally a sleep attack now.
Potentially, yes.
That's almost double damage.
Yeah.
Which is basically how sleep attacks work.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then the final thing is they mention is that mounting is back, and it seems like it's a World's mounting system.
Mounting's back! Let's fucking go!
I'm not surprised, and I'm not surprised it's back to the World method, rather than like Monster Hunter 4's.
Dude, that's wonderful. I'm so happy with that. I don't care if it's the Monster Hunter 4 version or the Monster Hunter World version. I'm just happy that mounting's back, because I think mounting is so dynamic and immersive and a fun little break from the hunt.
One thing they mentioned that's really interesting is that they were using a greatsword for a majority of the hunt, but they got 3 mounts off.
In a 15-minute hunt?
Yes.
I wonder if that's through ledges and sliding, or if that's just that there's now aerial moves in every
I'm unsure if there's aerial moves or if it was just a little bit easier for something like greatsword to mount.
Personally, for me in World, mounting is a lot easier with the heavier weapons than the lighter weapons, because I just have to do my strongest attack, airborne attack with a heavy weapon, and I almost mount immediately.
Yeah, that's to do with what's it called? It's a specific damage type, and
motion value.
Yes, motion value. Thank you. So the motion value is a lot stronger on the heavier weapons for an obvious reason, but they also have that downside of being harder to mount with, because the smaller weapons are usually a little more aerial. Like you have the sword and shield with its attack to be able to launch itself into the air. You just have Insect Glaive, the mounting weapon. Stuff like that.
Even then, though, like my partner is an Insect Glaive main, right? And I play with them all the time, and like one of the main things that they go for is mounts. But even with an Insect Glaive main, mounts will sometimes only happen like 2 to 3 times a hunt.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's like the lighter weapons don't do much motion value, and you need to like reach a threshold. And I don't remember if it builds up like status does, where they build up like a resistance.
It does.
Okay.
Yep, it does.
So yeah, so with a lighter weapon, it's a lot harder to. Which is why you might see like whenever a lighter weapon is like failing to mount, and then you see a heavy weapon come out of nowhere with a single attack.
Swing.
Yeah, and then they get the mount. It's because they break that like threshold or whatever. So yeah.
They do. fucking sexy cool.
So moving on to the next article, we have Famitsu, which is, I have it Google translated. Here it is.
Okay.
You may have to
That's
adjust
fine.
its thing.
I'm just gonna loop the trailer for now and just kind of sit here. Oh, did you send it to me?
I did send it, but
you did.
You'll probably have to mess with the settings on the top of the screen just to change it.
That thumbnail is the hunter doing the new slide move, but on the Chadacabra.
I believe that image is from one of the second PlayStation blog.
Interesting. That's a new image I have not seen yet. I have not seen any new Chadacabra images.
You should look at the PlayStation blog then, because they do actually have some exclusive images. Like the I believe in the first one, they had the Doshagama being attacked by some of like the raptor stuff, which we did not see in the trailer. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you're kind of. Hang on, let me see if I can. God, the Seikret's colors are so pretty!
Yes.
I cannot wait to customize that.
So in this article, they talk about how... Oh, this one's just mostly an interview with them. And I'm probably going to just go mostly over my notes than the article itself. Again, this is translated with Google Translate, so it may not be perfectly accurate.
That's okay, go ahead.
So this is where I learned that like the flying wyvern is the apex of the plains. They mention it's like a boss, not like a boss, but like, you know, it's a details such as its name, whatever. Hold on, yeah. So it's just the top of the ecosystem in the sand plains, as the translate calls it, the windward plains, or yeah. They talk about how focus mode is unrelated to the wounds itself, which is kind of contradiction, but I'm not going to get into that. Again, could be translation. Weapon swapping. It's not required to beat the game, so it's not like a super integral thing. They're not going to force you to use it to beat the game. Good. But they recommend it. Here's the bit with the not predetermined camps that I was a little confused about. And I'll read the segment that it got translated to. So here's what the translation says. Quote, there are several possible locations for camping in the field, and you can set up a set number of camps at those locations. As in previous games, there are absolutely safe locations, but there are also locations that are highly convenient, but may be attacked and destroyed by monsters as potential locations. There's also the option of setting up camps at high-risk, high-return locations, or you can set up camps only in safe locations to ensure stability. As long as there are a set number of locations, you can set up camps freely, or destroy them and move them to another location. It is designed to allow players to choose according to their own way of playing.
Good. The more customization that we have for hunts, the happier I'll be.
Yeah, honestly, I really loved Wild Hearts with how they let you pick your own camps and stuff like that. And so joining other people was really cool to see how they had their camps laid out and maybe more ideal spots for hunting certain monsters. Continuing on, they said that World and Wilds are not directly connected, so it is not a sequel. And
does that not kind of, in a way, then, like, say that this is probably not New World?
No, that just means this isn't, like, a sequel to Wilds, or to World. And then they also confirm here that this is where they confirm that is in the RE engine.
Did any of us, like, actually think that it was a real sequel to World?
Some people did, yes.
I
didn't.
At the first, I was like, yeah, World 2, but not, like, actually, like, thinking that, you know, the handler was gonna show up or anything like that. It's more of just, like, like...
The same it was gameplay and stuff like
vain.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a spiritual successor.
Yes, exactly. And to For You as well.
Yes, it has a lot of the vibes and the feeling of For You, but a lot of the gameplay mechanics and evolution of that World has.
Definitely. But
and that's all I have for that article. Gemma. Actually, so one thing I did see is that some people were saying that they confirmed Gemma is not Little Miss Forge. But all I've seen is that they just didn't say anything and they said it's up to your imagination.
Which sounds like wait until the fucking game comes out, loser.
That, or they're just not going to confirm it. And they're just going to... Which is very strange because there's so many coincidences. Like, she's literally wearing the Caravanier's jacket.
Caravanier's jacket.
It's literally
plushie from the guild marm. The hair that is literally Little Miss Forge's. Like...
Yeah. So...
Come on.
That's whatever. Moving on to the next article. Another Japanese article from Inside.
More articles!
Yeah. So this one's again translated with Google Translate. And this part is just for me to say "I told you so" to everyone who didn't listen.
Please tell me so right now.
In addition, in terms of Capcom titles, we have already achieved crossplay in Street Fighter 6 and Exoprimal. We've acclimated know-how. We've acclimated know-how.
You do not get to quote Exoprimal as
and technology there, and we wanted to introduce it in Wilds this time, so we've included it. I've been saying we were going to have crossplay, like a 99% chance, because Exoprimal has crossplay, and like, okay, you can hate Exoprimal. I didn't really like it. I thought it was like a neat
I like
idea,
Exoprimal.
My point is, right? Okay, cool, good for you. It wasn't my game, but I thought it was a really cool idea. My bit is, right, because it was like, it's a tech demo for crossplay. That's what they used to test and to develop crossplay, because that was their first game with crossplay. And then they added it to Street Fighter 6, and I'm here like, this is the reason we're going to have crossplay in Wilds. Everybody's been asking for it. They've just tested it with Exoprimal. We're gonna have it. And everybody was just like, eh. But here we are! Crossplay confirmed!
First of all, you were right. You were so right, Jaeger, and we all should have believed you from the very beginning. And anybody who doubted you ever should probably be hung by their Achilles tendons.
No.
Second of all, we can't... Look, I do like Exoprimal. I know, and I respect that it was not your game, that it was not a game that clicked with you. I will say, personally, even though I really liked it, I have not played it in months. But... I really do not feel like we can use that as like an example of, see, this has crossplay, because crossplay only recently fully came to custom lobbies, which is to say it's not even an actually implemented part of the matchmaking itself, of like being able to create like, you cannot invite your friends from other platforms unless you are in a custom lobby.
That means I understand. But
so, like, no actual technical crossplay unless you're doing private matches. So it's kind of like, you know?
Why I still, like, pushed that idea is because they were working on it. Exoprimal was their first game with crossplay. This is their own engine, right? They have to figure that out. And Exoprimal was the testing ground. And they realized that, hey, this first implementation wasn't good enough. And so they went and fixed it. They changed, they updated it, so you could at least do, like, lobby stuff. And that's good enough for Street Fighter 6. That's good enough for Wilds. Because with Monster Hunter, all it is custom lobbies.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
So, like...
I didn't ever think about it that way.
Yeah. All it is custom lobbies. So it's really not that different. And so it's just like, if they got to that point, that's all they need for something like Wilds, for Monster Hunter.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. And I mean, we already have it confirmed, so...
Crossplay was such a good move for Capcom.
Yes.
Such a good move for Monster Hunter.
There are so many people, like, there's a bunch of people that just don't play on PC. There are people that
PlayStation.
They got PlayStation, Xbox. Yeah, exactly. But now they don't have to buy a new PC. They could just play on their PlayStation. Or, like, maybe someone who has a PC, but it's not strong enough to be able to handle Wilds, because Wilds is an impressive game, like, visually. All the monster density, and the fact that the map is twice as big now, and that there are probably going to be well more than 3 monsters in an entire area at once.
Absolutely.
Like, it's going to need more resources. So, if you wanted to, like, let's say stream it, all you need is a capture card and your console. You don't need a new PC. And so like
I'm
even
I
if you
hope
don't
it
need to
runs well.
stream it, I honestly hope it runs well too. I'm just really excited to be able to play with people who I haven't been able to play with.
I'm so worried about a DD2 release.
We'll have to see. I'm not going to be surprised if it releases with a couple issues because, you know, you can only
That's
test
how all games release, kind of.
You can only test so much and you can only run into so many issues, but with so many people with different computer specs, there's going to be some issue they didn't account for. That's just how it is with computers nowadays. With cons,
Of course.
I would be more upset if it didn't function consistently on consoles, because those almost always have the exact same specs.
Exactly. And so if that's a problem, then that's a real problem that Capcom or slash the Monster Hunter devs themselves really need to take a look at and go, damn, did we drop the ball on this?
Yeah. I think I'm still going to play it even if there are
got faith.
issues, as long as it
Yeah.
runs. As long as it
Absolutely.
runs.
Dude, that's what I did with DD2. Is like, damn, the cities themselves still run like ass. But I didn't care because it was fun enough to keep playing. But anyways, okay.
So they ask, so the interviewer in this article, in the Inside article, asks about weapon types that have like gauges and stuff. How is that going to work with weapon swapping? Are you going to lose your gauge?
Yeah.
No, you're not going to lose your gauge.
Wait, what?
Quote, although there is time decay, the gauge is maintained. Please switch and play as much as you like. However, it will be reset if you change weapons at the base camp. So
I'm
it still
thinking about,
decays
like-
over time, I think.
Yeah, which makes
But,
sense.
yeah.
Right.
But, like, putting it away doesn't immediately make your longsword go from, like, level 3 to 0.
I was also thinking about it for the Switch Axe as well, with their, like, amped sword mode.
Yup.
Is that, like... So, that's...
Your files on your charge blade. Stuff
That's
like that.
so interesting. I think that's a great... I'm down with that.
I'm very happy with that. I mean, I don't play weapons with gauges much. I play Switch Axe. Charge blade is fine. I'm more of a Switch Axe guy, though, when it comes to those two weapons.
Teach me the ways.
The four weapons I probably plan to use the most are Greatsword and Switch Axe, and then Sword and Shield and Bow. The first two being like my primary, the second two being my secondaries. Probably something like that. And so that may not be something for me, but maybe for the Switch Axe. I don't know. It's just cool though. It's really cool.
It's a really good choice.
And I'm glad they did that.
Me too.
Moving on, they talk about... so this is where I learned about the mounted combat not being a focus, and it was meant to be pulling aggro. Let me see if I can find the specific segment. Okay, so the interviewer asked, unlike Garuga, I don't know if that's a translation different. It seems like you can attack freely with the Seikret. Can you play the hunting horn or use the insect glaive to collect essence while riding it? We'll release details about weapon types at a later date. While you can perform various actions on the Seikret, the concept is that you should deal damage on the ground. The Seikret has a special attack, I believe, such as pulling monsters while riding. It's not designed to, that hunting can be done by riding alone.
Wait, so do you think that means literally the Seikret has an attack?
They say special accent, but I don't know if that actually means accent or attack. So this is me translating it, so I'm unsure. But I believe what they mean is you have a special attack on the mount itself. Because we have yet to see the Seikret
Which would
attack.
make sense. We've seen the Great Sword. We saw the Great Sword like mounted attack.
Yeah.
And the like unmounting attack.
Yes.
So that makes sense.
The next question they have is, are there any elements to the Seikret such as individual differences, training, or equipment? And they answer, as the game progresses, various customizations will be unlocked, such as fur color. We are considering a design that will allow you to distinguish your Seikret from others in multiplayer. So they say various customizations. It doesn't seem like they unlock any new abilities or something like that. Like we saw the gliding in the very in trailer 0.
I'm low-key okay with that.
I'm also fine with that. I think, like, while it could have been cool for them to unlock, like, abilities, you know, like the gliding or maybe the faster running, I'm still just fine if it's customization as well.
At the end of the day, I want my secret to be an accessory. I don't want it to be a means to an end. And so if they make the secret too powerful and they give it its own attacks and they give it its own way to affect the monsters in the battle, I think I would be a lot more unhappy with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all from that article. Next we have PC Gamer. Yeah. So this one has some interesting stuff that I hadn't seen in other articles, which is very interesting. So starting off, quests do not have to be selected from the board. So you know how I said that the quest starts when you hit the monster? You can just pick like a quest on the in the field on the go, and they list here as a bullet point. Quests no longer have to be selected from the mission board or NPC menu. You can dynamically start them by initiating hunts in the field.
So,
I
like,
don't
that
understand
point when,
what that means. If that
point
means...
when Alma says, like, now commencing the hunt by order of the guild, you know? That's what I'm thinking.
I'm curious as if to, like, on the map, you can see what monsters are specific to, like, a hunt or something, and then you go and since if you attack that monster, it starts that quest or something like that. Because they don't really explain.
That's gonna be something that we have to figure out in post.
Yes, we'll have to figure out that eventually. They talk about resupplying at camp. The transitions between the village and the field.
Wait, so does that mean infinite restocks are back?
It seems so, but again, you have to go back to camp.
Well, I mean, you had to do that in the previous games, and people really didn't like.
Yeah.
You know, people really didn't like that. I personally would have been fine without it, but I guess my game isn't gonna be ruined by having it, but I would like increased difficulty. I don't mind.
Yeah, I feel like especially with like the bow guns have a little more of an advantage than some of the other weapons, because while they're supposed to have their like limited ammo,
that's probably why.
If they restock, then it kind of removes that tension of
limited ammo.
Yeah, of limited ammo. Well, again, I don't play a bow gun. That's just how I feel. I just
You're
think it's a little
supposed to bring things with you to craft more ammo on the hunt.
Which also means you have less inventory space to use for other resources.
Exactly. But that kind of just, the whole purpose of that gets defeated if you're able to just, oh, well, all of my ammo's out and all of my crafting resources are out. I'm going to head back to camp and go resupply all of that.
Yeah.
So, I get it. I will say also the next point is a little bit interesting. I didn't read the entire thing. I only saw lightning striking shrub brush can also trigger fires. That is interesting. Yes.
I will just say one quick on the bowgun. Again,
go ahead.
They are reworking them slightly. So maybe this is some kind of challenge, you know, maybe some kind of idea that they have with this restock. Who knows? Mm-hmm. We'll have to know whenever we actually see what they change. I will say, before that point, there is the dynamic day-night system, and apparently it affects monster behavior, monster patterns, and more. I think that's just to do like what we've seen before in the articles, where it's like different monsters appear at different weathers, so maybe they also appear at different areas because the weather is pushing them out or something like that. And then,
I'm guessing that means different spawn points.
Yes.
Different scripted like behavior paths.
Yes, exactly. That's what I think so as well. And the next point, like you mentioned, there's weather, so it affects both directly and indirectly combat and monster behavior. So we have like sandstorms lowering visibility, herbivores fleeing the area, lightning strikes, stuff like that. Quote, the desert's thunder element apex predator also becomes more powerful during the storm and actively wants to be struck by lightning. So do they power up by getting struck by lightning now?
See, this brings us back to our question, right? Is that like, can it do it without the storm?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it just get more powerful with the storm? But then this also brings me to another question. Are they bringing back hidden elements again? And is the Apex going to have hidden thunder element?
That would be very interesting.
I don't want that, though, is the thing. I feel like hidden elements were so underutilized. Like, it was you had to go out of your way to, and especially fully level out a whole other skill for free element, just to be able to take advantage of the full amount of elemental damage that was put into those weapons.
To be fair, those weapons had a lot higher element after all of the upgrades.
Did they?
Yes, like, in World, I have, there's a Paralysis Sword and Shield. It is, I think, the end of the Bone Tree. It has Radabon in the name, despite it not coming from Radabon, which is really funny. But
we've talked about this.
Yeah, so, like, it has the best, paralysis out of any Sword and Shield. But it requires you to have the free element.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. It's kind of a push and a pull type thing, which I guess does make sense, but...
It would be more frustrating if, like, the element was less and then you had to use free element. So...
What if it only activated when you got Thunderblight, and so you needed... So, like, your free element, or your element on your weapon wouldn't activate until you went and got struck by lightning?
Honestly, I think it would be really cool if you could, like, do a weapon pose where you hold your weapon up and then you get struck by lightning and it, like, empowers it or something.
That'd be so cool.
It'd
That's
be
so Thundercats.
It'd
That's
be
so
ridiculous.
Thundercats.
Yes, Thundercats, yes! Oh, it'd be so goofy, but let's be honest, that would be so cool at the same time.
Sick as fuck!
Yup.
Okay, go ahead and continue, Jaeger.
Then there's higher density of environmental traps, like we talked about. Apparently there's rock slides, which is cool.
The closest thing we had to that was the avalanche in the Hoarfrost Reach.
Yes. And then they end this bullet point section with a more advanced monster AI. So there's like interactivity between monsters. Quote, for example, when a new monster named Doshagama was near death, a horde of small raptors decided they had a shot to take it down. They were wrong, but still cool to see them going on the offensive.
That's so sick.
The smaller monsters were going after what they thought was a weaker monster or something that was weakened and they had a chance. That is sick. That is incredibly cool.
That's so cool.
That's insane. That's such an increased level of depth for like just ecology. Does that make sense? That's how smaller predators work, right? They only take down the larger predators when the larger predators are too weak to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's
so cool.
It's awesome. I love it.
That's so cool. I want to see it in action.
Yup. Well, we do see small monsters attacking the Chotacabra in trailer 1, so maybe that's related.
I just hope it's not the same animation reuse.
I hope not either, but we'll find out. There's more in this, and so I have a large segment here to read, specifically from Yuya Tokida, who they quote here. So, quote, "There's a relationship between the herbivores and carnivores that's going to be interesting," said the game director Yuya Tokida. "It's not just the carnivorous monsters, it's not just. The carnivorous monsters go to a certain spot on a map to eat. They need to find a herbivore to eat if that's their prey, so you'll find an interesting domino effect. If a carnivorous monster has become hungry and wants to get food, it'll go attack and eat a herbivore, maybe attack it out of its herd. That'll cause its herd to scatter or move to a different place for safety. The fact they've moved now means that any monster that preys on them is going to be looking for a different location for their food. Continuing, those monster movements around the map are going to have a great effect on the player's actions, as you'll watch this all play out, and it'll change how you need to respond and where you need to go on the map."
That makes me feel so much like a hunter.
Yes! Yes!
That makes me feel like I'm okay. Oh, I'm showing up here. There's usually a herd of Karatanoth that are in this area drinking by the time that I normally get here. They're not here, so I need to assume that I'm just playing out the scenario in the top of my head. That the Doshagama have already come here, and by the looks of this corpse that's here, it looks like someone's already come through and scared them off. Well, I know that there's only 2 different places that they can go to from here to go and stand around safely, so I should go check one of those areas. That is awesome.
Yes, it's beautiful. So this also makes me think, The world will move and continue to live without you.
Which is awesome!
There is only one other game that I've played that does that, and it is one of the greatest games ever made. Rain World.
Which is?
Rain World?
Yes. Rain World is a game with, like, all the creatures in the world have AI. You are this little cat. It's like it's 2D pixel.
You look like a slug.
Yeah, it's called a slug cat, despite you not being a slug or cat. It's community name. It's a beautiful game. It is also a terrifying game because you are weak and you are trying to fucking survive. Like, I genuinely, you should look at, like, someone's playthrough of it. It is an immense game, and you are struggling for your life.
And looks interesting.
Yes, so you are a small creature in this, like, world that goes on without you. The other monsters prey on other monsters. Some of them, they hunt, whatever, and they can prey on you. You are not powerful. You are not, like, the main character. I mean, you are the main character, but, like,
You're not the guy.
You are not him. So, you are just a creature in this world, and you are trying to survive, to get, to explore. There is no objective. The game does not tell you what to do. It guides you to certain areas, but it does not tell you what to do.
This is really cool, and this new mechanic that they're describing reminds you of that?
Yeah, because it feels like in Rain World, you can, there's literally a spectate mode, where you can just go and explore and just move to different areas. The world moves without you. You don't have to exist for the world to move and evolve. Like, the creatures eat their prey, they hunt, they bring them back to their nest and eat. Like, everything just goes on, and you don't have to be a part of it for it to do anything.
We've seen the Dushagama grabbing and dragging a Karatnoth back to somewhere to eat.
So it feels like Wilds might be just a, like they said, like, they keep repeating a living, breathing world, and other games have said that before, but the only one I've seen before to actually do it is Rain World. And this is looking a lot like that.
I'm going to take your recommendation if you've played Rain World and assume that this is a really great direction for the Monster Hunter franchise to be moving in.
Yeah, okay, so, like, I mean specifically that, like, just how the world interacts without you. And, like, that's the thing. Like, seeing if, you can affect the world. And it seems like that's what can happen in Wilds here if you hunt a monster. Maybe, let's say you're the reason that Karatnoth herd isn't there anymore. Maybe the large monster will go look for another one. Or something like that. Like, the world changes, maybe another creature ended up getting the prey of, and so the Dushagama needs to go somewhere else to find its prey. Something like that.
Do you know how cool we're gonna seem to new players? Do you know, like, what I mean is, like, imagine you convince somebody to buy this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you take them into a hunt, and they're like, oh, where's the monster? I thought you said it was right over here, and you're like, yeah, I thought it was going to be, but if you look at these tracks that are over here and you see that corpse over there, it looks like something has already come through here and scared it off and scattered. Luckily, I know usually where they head to after they've been scared, and as long as we get there in time, we should make it before anything else does.
So it's fucking sick!
That's what I'm saying! You're gonna be able to intake all of this information about the world that you're going into, and you're gonna be able to implement it into just learning about not only the game, but the place that you exist in.
Bro, call me Steve Irwin, Chotacabra Hunter.
Literally, bro! Oh my god.
Yes!
I'm freaking out right now at the thought of being able to do shit like that. That's gonna be so... That is what I call immersion.
Yes. This is what they've been trying to do the entire time.
Yes! Absolutely. Not just, oh, I know the path this monster takes.
Yeah.
We should probably be able to catch them in this zone.
Like, we're probably still going to see, like, oh, hey, they spawn here or whatever.
Right.
It's because that's where they live.
It's a video game.
Yeah.
It's a video game, yeah. But, like, Oh, I want to be like I said. I want to make my own personalized set of hunter notes.
Dude, same. I'm going to make my own notes. I'm gonna like find my own stuff. I'm
so excited,
bro. I would love to make like a National Geographic like a documentary on the
That's
monsters.
what I was low-key thinking about.
Hell
I was
yeah.
low-key thinking about something like that. That's such a good idea, and if you flesh it out before me, more power to you.
No, bro, we can work together on this. All right, let's move on to the last bit of this article that I want to point out.
Okay.
Actually, there's one more thing. Continuing on with that bit. So, just below it, they mention, according to Tokada, the ripple effects of your actions will remain in the field environments even after you leave and return. It doesn't default back to some generic world state. Though you can't hunt a monster type to extinction, and preset world states will exist for quests to ensure the monsters you need is available, the world state is persistent. This sounds amazing, even immersive, simmy to me, but the demo I saw was far too short to indicate how meaningful those changes persisting will be long term. That reminds me, did you ever see that the very first trailer for Monster Hunter 4, where that, T-Rex is chasing the hunter, they're knocking down, the pillars?
Entire area.
Yeah, and they're, knocking down the pillars and stuff like that? That. Imagine that. Imagine, destroying, a certain area of the map or something, and it stays like that.
So wait, do you think you're gonna have permanent effect? You don't think that the map will ever reset?
Well, they said here, though you can't, the ripple effects of your actions will remain in the field environments even after you leave and return. So, there might be story events where something happens, a monster destroys something, and it stays destroyed. Maybe. I mean, I doubt it'll block up a certain area, but it might look different, or what if, right?
Will it permanently looked?
I don't know. But what... Okay. Oh, thought. What if you keep hunting Karatnoth in a certain area so that they no longer appear there, but they appear more abundant somewhere else?
Damn, that's gonna create such diversity between quests that are gonna be like, hey, do your Karatnoth still spawn right outside your camp? Yeah? Sick. Okay, you're posting the quest.
Again, no idea if that happens, but yeah. Well, the thing is, you'd have to be in that person's lobby, not join the quest, because it's seamless.
So many questions! So many stipulations!
Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to point out was something really silly, and it's potentially endemic life being used as a weapon. So, quote, endemic life and small monsters play a role beyond just parts to craft with. You may spot this sort of alligator-looking small monster. You can actually use your hook slinger to grab the front of its snout where its teeth are. Rather than that being something that goes into creating a weapon, that can remain attached to your hook slinger and be used to do better attacks with, so it's not always strictly feeding into the gear system.
First of all, you're thieving a dude's whole set of fucking teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Second of all, why are we able to rip the snout off of a monster? That's kind of fucked up. Third of all, why do I want my hook slinger to do better damage? I don't understand.
I don't get it, but it sounds so fucking funny.
I believe that Monster Hunter World team has been working on this game since the release of Iceborne in 2019, which means they've had almost 6 years to develop it by the time it's out in 2025. That right there is why I still think January release date.
Hell yeah, man. I hope so.
Please.
Capcom, please.
Please.
All right, Jaeger, do you have anything else?
Yeah, we have one more article.
Okay.
And this one is WCCF Tech. I did have another article before this, but it didn't have anything new. It just had some decent explanations, so it's
only wanting to hear about things that are new and interesting.
So this one doesn't have too much, but it does go into just some details. Another line, like I said, this is where the cheese and thank you line came from. This one is
Is this,
also what told us that the 3D map had elevations and being able to be rotated. This is where I learned that as well.
There we go. There we go.
They also
Okay.
talk about how upsurges are still a thing.
Oh, on like mining outcrops and gathering points?
Quote, on the map, players can see the local upsurges where rare materials or subspecies might be more prevalent. And then they also continue with, time of day is also a major focus for the exploration, and timelines can be broken down into colored chunks, each representing a different event or opportunity depending on the time of day.
That is so reminiscent of DOS.
Yeah.
That is so reminiscent of DOS.
Another very interesting thing that they mention, quote, even along the way towards a quest, players will get notified of other opportunities for hunts, including one pop-up that mentioned that a Balahara had appeared in the region and showed off a list of possible rewards, including decorations and jewels going by the icons shown.
Does that mean RNG decorations are back?
I assume so. I think that World's method of crafting charms and having RNG decos is back.
I'm indifferent to that, I suppose.
Same. I don't think there were specific decorations, but like the stones you get that mean you were going to get a
right,
decoration.
like a warped face stone,
Yes.
and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Continuing on, they mention about the food buff, the cooking, and how you have to make your own food, and that the food buff had a 50-minute timer, so that the food buffs now have like a noted, like a timer that we can actually see. Because before it was just like, it either lasted till the end of the hunt, or like, it lasted for a certain amount of time, and we just really we were never told how long it lasted. And so this one said that it was a 50-minute buff.
50-minute buff that increased their health and stamina while also providing defender low.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it activated quite often during the hunt, apparently.
Which is usually how defender low works. So that makes sense.
Here they also mention that whenever they attacked the Alpha Doshagma, that a quest, a banner appeared saying that the quest had begun. So there's a visual signifier saying, hey, the quest has begun. Which is very interesting.
To indicate he found the correct target.
Yes.
Interesting. What happens if you go on a quest for something else, but you accidentally start not accidentally, but what if you start hunting something else? Is that like problematic, or does it just mean no rewards? Congrats, you killed it.
The quest only starts when you hit the monster, so you may end up just starting another quest. Continuing, something they mention, they apparently have a name for the lightning flying wyvern. Apparently.
Wait, what? I was reading about the wound system, but
I skipped
really?
over that because we've already talked about the wound 5 times.
Oh my god, wait, I see what you're talking about. You think that's the name?
The lightning dragon Ray Dow rolled up as another contestant and did heavy damage with its lightning attacks. The thing is, I looked up that name in Wilds and I saw an Italian article that mentioned the exact same thing.
I don't know if they were told, or is that what they interpreted?
I don't know if maybe it even appeared on screen or something. I'm not sure. It could be a placeholder name. It could be just what they called it in Japanese, and that's what they interpreted its name being. I'm not sure, but the fact that we have 2 articles that mentioned the name is very strange. So, potentially, its name is Rey Dao, R-E-Y space D-A-U.
When I look at this monster, could I see it being named Rey Dao?
I can't.
I can't either. That's the thing. I can't. That doesn't feel right. That feels like a placeholder name.
Maybe. And the thing about this article that I'm looking at, that it had it previously, it no longer says that.
So that means either A, that is the real name, and it needed to be stricken from the record because nobody's supposed to know about it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or B, that's not the real name, and that's an assumption, and that's incorrect information they don't want getting out.
Potentially. Oh, there is also a Korean article that has the name, and I'm going to look into this article. It's just strange that it's still being, I'm able to find the article through Google, but I'm not able to find it in the site.
I also think it's interesting that multiple people have now quoted that the railgun does like upwards of 3,500 damage
Yeah.
with its attack. So is it like every attack that a monster does on another monster has damage numbers now? Because I thought that damage numbers would only appear for really strong attacks, really strong monsters, or turf wars. Like Rajang's front punches would show damage numbers. That's it. Devil Joe's big slams would show damage numbers. That's it. Otherwise, it was completely exclusive to turf wars, and monsters would just flinch from each other. Continuing on with the paragraph right under it, players could reap the rewards of this new kind of turf war and collect a variety of endemic life that would only appear in weather conditions such as this. This is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
A large number of great thunderbugs. So crazy that we haven't seen. They literally skipped an entire generation.
Yeah.
Wiggly Litchi, we know that boy. We know him really good. Vigor slugs.
That is something new.
New. That's very new. And maybe that's just like a. I don't know. This isn't a translated article, is it?
No.
So then, are there vigor wasps and slugs?
It may be that the Vigor Wasps cannot survive in the storm, but like they wanted to add some kind of healing endemic life. So perhaps
Vigor
it is,
slugs.
you know, a different kind of creature that maybe appears in different areas but serves the same purpose.
And Sparkflint. Low key, I think that's what was loaded into the Huntress's slinger in the second trailer.
Yes, I believe so as well.
Perhaps a new type of slinger ammo given the icon when picked up. Were all gatherable by Seikret back, as the hunter darted around to evade lightning bolts and keep his target distracted by the apex wyvern that showed up briefly. After the raid hour departed and the Alpha Doshagama was once again on the move, the clock showed 9 minutes had passed out of the full 45-minute duration.
Meaning timers still exist. And
Of
there
course.
are 45-minute timer, I believe they say soon.
Yeah, out of the full 45-minute duration. That's 5 minutes less than it was always before.
There was often a 45-minute timer in World, I thought.
I thought it was always 50. I thought it was always 50.
Huh. Also, I've been like looking at the article, comparing it to Google Translate, and so you know how there is a little bit segment before and after a specific word when you look at in Google for the article. I copied that bit and I found it. So they literally did just chop it out of the article.
They did.
So normally when they say, they would have said when Ray Dow appeared, entered the scene, one of the apex of the area. They changed it to when a decidedly more dangerous wyvern. They removed it. They changed the article.
Yeah, Capcom did not want them to know about the name. So how did all these people suddenly know about the name? Did it show up when they... Did the name show up somewhere on screen when the wyvern showed up and people were quick enough to pick it up?
I think that it appeared, and they wanted, they probably meant for people not to, not that they didn't want them to see it, but they didn't want them to mention it. So that's very interesting.
I'm also reading about this turf war. The Alpha Doshagama ran into yet another turf war with the Balahara, with two of them latching onto the Doshagama, one grappling it while the other bit onto the monster. That's what we knew, right?
That's
we knew about
what we saw in trailer 2.
Exactly. The Alpha Doshagama was eventually able to break free and grab one of the offending Balahara, ripping its lower jaw before tossing the monster aside. That's so fucking metal. That's so cool. That's so cool.
The next bit I actually find really interesting. So you know how we've kind of determined that the bowgun that's used in all of the trailers is the heavy bowgun. And so they mention here that they use the heavy bowgun, and it's still early game, and how it uses, you know, normal ammo types, stuff like that. But quote, there was also a rapid fire attack on the heavy bowgun that didn't consume any ammo, but rather a separate resource gauge.
So I'm not very well versed on especially heavy bowgun.
I'm not either, but Heavy bowgun
Was that
does
not a move in Rise?
I believe so. Heavy bowgun does not have a rapid fire, but if you saw like the bowgun attacks while it was mounted, it had a rapid fire attack.
It did, yeah. It went bow, 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 bow. Wait, does heavy bowgun doesn't have rapid fire?
No, not to my knowledge. And not to
Why
other
have I
people
not seen anybody talking about this? Oh yeah, because there's only like 3 heavy bowgun mains in all of the existence of
a lot more
Monster
people
Hunter.
prefer light bowgun, which is to be expected. But I look, I'm not a fan of the bowguns, but if I had to pick one, it would be heavy.
I played light.
I would prefer heavy, but I just don't like the bowguns.
So base, you do all the heavy lifting.
But yeah, so that's very interesting because there was in Rise, there was like 2 different versions of like the special ammo, whatever. There was like that sniper shot, and then there was like the machine gun fire, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Those
were the special ammos.
Yeah, so this might be something specific like that, but like I guess maybe on a little more toned down scale of some sort, because it didn't seem to fire as fast.
I also gotta say, this is so very superficial and completely and utterly a design decision, but that picture of the bowgun, I really like the back of the bowgun, how it's got like the 2 arching arms that go into that middle piston with the string.
Like a bow.
Literally like a bow. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Or much more like a crossbow. And that's what I love about the bowguns, because they're not guns, they're still propelled like a crossbow.
So cool.
Yeah.
So fucking cool. Anyways.
And then one thing that was also very interesting. So they call in NPCs to support themselves. One had a lance, a hammer, and another had a heavy bowgun. On the next paragraph, quote, even during combat, the hunter was able to fast travel out and change his primary weapon to a longsword. And this is because if you look at the above sentence, they talk about the third also brought in another heavy bowgun and would use that Gatling fire ability to try and pin and stun the Alpha Doshagama. So it seems like they were able to distract the monster, and then he was able to, the main character was able to, or the player was able to fast travel despite being in combat.
Oh my god, I'm also reading continuously through. Oh my god, there's so much information from all of these. There's so much information. I get what everybody was talking about on Twitter now.
It is very overwhelming, and this is why I've been breaking it down.
Even during combat, the hunter was able to fast travel out and change his primary weapon to a longsword. Okay, first question that begs into my mind. Fast travel has to work in some way. There has to be a reason why you're able to fast travel. World, it was because you had a pet Murnos that was with, or a wing drake that was with you always, right?
Yeah.
How does fast travel work in here? Do we have wing drakes again? Which made sense because they would fly you to your camp. In Rise, it would just, here's a smoke bomb for no reason.
And then
now
bug.
Yeah. So, how does that work in
I could
Wild?
assume that either it's the same, or that
The Seikret runs really fast.
or that you hop on the Seikret and just run off screen.
Runs really, really fast. But, okay.
Then they talk about like the plenty, which they call, which is like when the endemic life like resurgence that we saw in the last article, and how it's just like a bunch of vigor wasps appeared.
The abundant phase.
Yeah, the abundant phase.
Okay.
The skull icon is still appearing whenever a monster is weak, and then they killed it.
A variety of longsword techniques, including a crimson slash
That changed from level 1 to level 3?
with repeated use. What does that mean, bro? That's literally a move made for me.
Yeah, Red.
Like,
And then continuing upon besting the foe, quest completion
that's
pop
it.
up up
You're holding my hand and you're taking me on a journey through all this information. I'm not taking us on any side quests anymore. Just take me through what I need to do.
And instead of like teleporting back, they just stayed out in the wild. There were various awards and even a nameplate, but you know, Capcom wouldn't allow them to look into it. And then they showed a quick tease of a new monster with 3 large spikes on its back and harassing it with a large barrel bomb. And
3 large spikes.
Yeah. And then
That
new for
sound-
wilds, they can tip the barrel bomb over and roll it at them. That's
is-
where I found that out.
Huge. Don't get me wrong. That's awesome. I'm so glad that we get even more barrel bomb gameplay. But, quick. When you think of quick tease of a new monster with 3 large spikes on its back, and you're thinking in the context of wilds, what are you thinking of?
Dalamadur?
Really?
It has those massive spikes every so often on its back. They're so
True.
standout. Of course,
You
I
know
know
where
it's not
my mind
Dalamadur, but that's, what do you think?
Karatnoth.
Oh my god, wait. A large Karatnoth or some kind of, like, Karatnoth beast?
So far, the only thing I've seen with quote-unquote spikes on its back are, this makes me think of Monster Hunter Wilds' first trailer. Palico says, that one's got big spikes on its back, and you count
Yep.
the spikes, there's 3.
Yup.
So, what does... Is there a... Does... Whoa, what does that mean?
What does that mean indeed?
Is that a whole new... What, is that a Karatnoth large monster?
We don't know, sadly.
Of course. Of course. Anyways.
And,
Okay.
That's the last article I have.
Real talk. I think that's plenty of information for now.
We haven't even started the videos.
Totally forgot about that. You're so right, King.
Do you want to break this into part 2, maybe?
I'm thinking we probably should. Dude, I've been recording for 3 hours and 13 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not that I think we have a bunch to edit. It's just I have to watch all of it to see where I need to edit.
Dude, same.
Part 2?
Part 2.
I think that's honestly just the best move at this. Jaeger, this has been literally nothing short of an absolute blast to be with you.
Man, Red, I love you.
I love you too. You want to go make out while the camera watches us walk into the sunset?
Hell yeah, brother.
This is wonderful. All right, guys, you can catch us next time for part 2, where we're going to be going into all of the videos that break down the people that got to go into the backstage and watch the demo for themselves as well by some famous content creators and stuff. We are not reaction channels, okay?
No, absolutely
We do not go off of interaction and reaction bait. However, this is very important. And I would very much like to witness this. And you guys have no choice, and you have to witness it too, because you came to our channels.
We are thirsty for information.
Oh, God. I'm not even salivating because of how thirsty I am. I need something to increase the moisture in my... Jaeger,
Yes,
thank you
Red.
so much for joining me today. It's been a blast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming by. This has been... You sorted out all of these notes, and you consolidated all this information and compartmentalized it and like set it all out into this like easy to digest way in 3 hours and 10 minutes. And
Bro, it's been such a pleasure to have someone on the same wavelength as me, just as excited as me, like theory crafting, and just like I can just tell how excited you are. We're just both so excited. We're just like, yes.
Sorry. You're freaking me. Like you're making me take it to my penthouse, and then I freaked it.
Hey, at least buy me dinner first.
But seriously, Jaeger, thank you so much for joining me to talk with me today.
It's been an honor.
Do you have any closing thoughts or anything you would like to say before we send this off
my
for part
brain
2?
is fried, man. I can't. wait.
Literally.
As we do part 2, whenever that happens, probably sometime later this week, there's probably going to be more information or more theories or stuff on Twitter, so we're gonna have even more to talk about.
Like I said, thank you, Jaeger. It's been nothing short of a pleasure to be able to sit here and talk to you about this. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, giving this amazing opportunity.
All right, and to all of you hunters,
Happy hunting,
Happy hunting.
and we'll catch you in the next one.